Chapter 1897. Trash. Trash. We've all fallen into Li Tai's trap. In the secret chamber of the second branch of the Wang family's ancestral home, Wang Xinyuan, who thought he could receive good news, did not expect to receive bad news. No matter how confident he was before, he could not help but panic. He was so angry that he threw the cup on the table to the ground and said angrily, "Please forgive me, young master, but I did hear the King of Wei say that he would personally escort the firepower generator at the post house. I don't know why the King of Wei was not among the people escorting the firepower generator in the afternoon." Wang Li knew that he had messed up this matter. Facing Wang Xinyuan's questioning, he asked for forgiveness in fear and trepidation. But at the end of the day, he still didn't know what went wrong. They had the upper hand in this matter, but why did they lose so badly in the end? I don't know why. You still don't know why we lost? You've been tricked by Li Tai. The news you overheard at the post house must have been fake news deliberately revealed to you by Li Tai. You and I have been tricked by this kid. Wang Xinyuan angrily slammed his fist on the table and said with a ferocious face. Hearing this, Wang Li's eyes widened. He subconsciously shook his head and said, "Young master, this is impossible. The King of Wei and the teacher from the academy do not know martial arts. They couldn't have found out that I was eavesdropping outside. I have absolute confidence in this." Absolute confidence? Then how do you explain this result to me? Wang Xinyuan glared at Wang Li and said angrily, "You thought that your martial arts were much better than the other party, so you underestimated your opponent. In the end, you were played like a fool and almost put my grandfather and me in danger. You have high standards but little ability." At this moment, Wang Xinyuan was a little disappointed. He wanted to train Wang Li to be his confidant, but in the end, this guy was just a simple-minded person with well-developed limbs. This made him very disappointed. Hearing the anger in Wang Xinyuan's words, Wang Li did not dare to refute. He lowered his head and did not say anything. Wang Xinyuan paused for a moment, then asked, "How are those people?" His tone was no longer as aggressive as before. After all, he also understood that if he wanted to complete his plan, he would have to rely on Wang Li in the future. He could not make their relationship too stiff now. Wang Li naturally understood the meaning of Wang Xinyuan's words. He thought for a moment and cupped his fist. Those 4 men of sacrifice have already died in the Sea of Fire, and there is nothing on them that can reveal their identities. As for Xing Lang, he was mainly responsible for capturing King Wei alive. However, when I found out that King Wei wasn't escorting the goods, I realized that something was wrong and immediately gave the order to retreat. However, Xing Lang was already surrounded by the Imperial Army. Just now, I received news that Xing Lang was sent to the relay station by the Imperial Army. Wang Xinyuan frowned and said, "Star Wolf? Who was he? Will he betray us?" Wang Li carefully replying to young master, "Xing Lang is one of the assassins that the second elder has secretly nurtured over the years. Only this subordinate and the second elder know of his identity. All these years, Xing Lang and the others have undergone strict training. Furthermore, their families are in the hands of the second elder, so no matter what kind of torture the Imperial Army uses, Xing Lang will definitely not betray us." Chapter 1898. What? You actually sent Wang Li to burn Yanhuang College's supplies? In the Wang family ancestral residence, in a room in the backyard of the second branch, Wang Xinyuan told Wang Kuei about the plan to ambush Li Tai's group. Wang Kuei listened and couldn't help but widen his eyes. "Bastard! Nonsense! Didn't this old man tell you not to act rashly before establishing contact with the Turkic state preceptor or Xieli Kagan? Moreover, Taiyuan City is currently under martial law, and the city is filled with soldiers and yamen runners. If your actions are caught, you, me, and the second branch of the Wang clan will all be finished. It was your grandson who was rash. Please calm your anger, grandfather. Wang Xinyuan lowered his head and cupped his hands at Wang Kuei, looking like a good boy who had done something wrong. Calm my anger? How do you expect this old man to calm down? Wang Kuei slapped the table and pointed at Wang Xinyuan. This old man gave the second branch's shadow guards to you so that you could lead the second branch back to glory, not to destruction. If the imperial army and the provincial governor's residence find you, not just our second branch, but the entire Wang clan will suffer a calamity. In order to avoid being overheard, Wang Kuei deliberately lowered his voice despite his extreme anger. He had initially adopted Wang Xinyuan's plan and put Wang Xinyuan in charge of this plan only to revive the second branch. He had never thought of destroying the entire Wang clan. Wang Xinyuan lowered his head and said softly, "Grandfather, rest assured. The imperial army only captured Xinglong. The rest of the people who participated in the ambush were all buried in the sea of fire. Xinglong is an assassin that you have painstakingly cultivated over the years. Grandson believes that the imperial army will not be able to get anything out of him." Xinglong. You still have the face to mention Xinglong to this old man? Also, how did you know that Xinglong is an assassin that this old man has cultivated? Wang Kuei was completely enraged, but at the same time, he still had a question in his mind. How did Wang Xinyuan know Xinglong's identity and mobilize him? Wang Xinyuan lowered his head and said nothing. Whether or not Wang Li was here, he could not possibly reveal Wang Li's identity because he had been trying to win people's hearts recently. But even if he didn't say it, Wang Kuei, who was old and shrewd, could roughly guess. It was only to see Wang Kuei's brows furrow, and he said with a livid expression, "It's Wang Li. You actually allowed Wang Li to mobilize the Star Wolf. Haha. Good. Very good. How many days has it been since you were adopted into the second branch? His wings had hardened? How dare you mobilize the assassins that this old man has secretly trained without permission? Then in a few days, will you dare to order Wang Li to kill this old man so that you can take my place?" At this moment, while Wang Kuei was angry and regretful, a sense of crisis finally rose in his heart. This was because Wang Xinyuan could mobilize Wang Li and Star Wolf behind his back today. Who knew if Wang Xinyuan would directly attack him or completely take over his position in the future? It had to be said that the speed of Wang Xinyuan's infiltration into Wang Kuei's forces made Wang Kuei feel a little fearful. Wang Xinyuan raised his head at this time and looked directly at Wang Kuei without avoiding. He said with a serious face, "Grandfather, you are my grandfather. I will never do anything to you." Previously, after Wang Li heard the news from the post house that Li Tai would personally escort the firepower generator, I felt that it was a good opportunity to break the situation. I also wanted to report to grandfather first, but the situation was urgent at that time. I had to let Wang Li prepare for the ambush first. Grandson has indeed overstepped his boundaries and acted rashly. Grandfather, please punish me. A good opportunity to break the situation? You really broke the situation by making such a fuss. However, you gave Li Tai and the others a chance to break the situation. Wang Kuei sneered and then said coldly, "I think you are getting bolder and bolder. From today onwards, you have no right to mobilize the secret guards of the second branch. You stay at home and reflect on your mistakes. You are not allowed to go anywhere." Now that things had developed to this point, Wang Kuei really didn't dare to let Wang Xinyuan do whatever he wanted. Wang Xinyuan was really too bold. He was simply joking with the lives of everyone in the Wang family. But now that things had developed to this point, he couldn't do anything to Wang Xinyuan. He couldn't kill him quietly, right? This was the grandson he had just snatched from Wang Yu. Even if he regretted it at this time, he could only swallow the bitter fruit. Therefore, Wang Kuei decided to temporarily stop the plan and let Wang Xinyuan calm down to see what would happen next. No. Unexpectedly, Wang Xinyuan's attitude suddenly became tough. He looked at Wang Kuei with a firm face and said, "Grandfather, do you think that if you stop now, you and I can live in peace? It's impossible. There's no turning back. Since the moment we chose to rely on the Turks, there's no turning back. Especially now that Star Wolf has fallen into the hands of the Imperial Army. Even if he has undergone rigorous training before, he is always a hidden danger to us. As long as he is still alive, we will never be able to sleep and eat in peace. Only by successfully joining Khan Shieli and becoming his right-hand man can we completely get out of the current predicament. At this time, how can you let your grandson stop? What you're doing is driving the Wang family to a dead end." The plan to ambush Li Tai had failed. Although Wang Xinyuan felt regretful, he could also use this to kidnap Wang Kuei and make the latter stand firmly on the same front as him. Not only did he want to get Wang Kuei's full support, but he also wanted all the resources and power of the Wang family's second branch. Especially those killers that Wang Kuei had secretly cultivated over the years. Wang Kuei was so angry that he was about to die. At this moment, he finally understood what it meant to ask a tiger for its skin. Those who asked a tiger for its skin should be mentally prepared to be bitten by the tiger at any time. Wang Xinyuan, the tiger, was as docile as a kitten at the beginning, but now, he had finally revealed his sharp fangs, which made Wang Kuei somewhat fearful. Although he was angry, Wang Kuei also understood that Wang Xinyuan's words were reasonable. There was no turning back. They had already attached themselves to the Turks through Guardian Zhao. Could they really stop now? In addition, at this time, he could not completely fall out with Wang Xinyuan, because he could hear a trace of determination in the latter's tone. If he really fell out with Wang Xinyuan, this guy might directly make the matter public and make a life-and-death struggle. At that time, the Wang family's second branch would only die faster. Forget it. Forget it. Seeing that you're doing this for the sake of the second branch, this old man will not punish you this time. You don't have to reflect on your mistakes in these few days. After pondering for a moment, Wang Kuei suppressed the anger in his chest and sighed as if he had accepted his fate. Then he changed the topic and said, "But before you make any decision, you must discuss it with this old man. Don't make any more decisions without my permission. Otherwise, this old man can take back the secret guards in your hands at any time. Do you understand?" Seeing that Wang Kuei had compromised, Wang Xinyuan smiled inwardly. He did not want to push Wang Kuei too hard, so he cupped his hands and said, "This grandson understands. Thank you for your forgiveness, grandfather. You leave." Wang Kuei waved his hand at Wang Xinyuan rather tiredly. At this time, he had already begun to regret listening to Wang Xinyuan's slanderous words and mistakenly boarding the pirate ship. "Master, this subordinate has something to report." Wang Qingwu stood outside the study in the backyard of the Wang family's main house, knocked on the doorframe, and spoke respectfully inside. "Come in." Soon, Wang Yu's voice came from inside the room. "Yes." Wang Qingwu did not enter immediately. He first turned his head and looked around. Seeing that there was no one around, he pushed the door open and walked in, then closed the door again. "Qingwu, what's the matter?" At this time, Wang Yu was reviewing official documents sent by the local government in Sui Province. Counting the days, he had left Sui Province for nearly half a month, and there was a backlog of government affairs in the local government. Wang Yu looked up at Wang Qingwu and asked faintly. Then, he lowered his head and continued to review official documents. "Master, this subordinate has just received news that a fire suddenly broke out in the south of the city." Thick smoke billowed. An imperial guard was also at the scene at that time, and they also caught an unidentified man who seems to be an assassin. He has been escorted to the post house. Wang Qingwu cupped his hands and bowed. "What? Another assassin?" Hearing this, Wang Yu's right hand, which was reviewing official documents, could not help but tremble. A slanted red line suddenly appeared on the booklet. Speaking of which, Dugu Xin had just been assassinated in the city this morning, and the security patrols in the city had also been upgraded. How did another assassin pop out now? How could Wang Yu not be shocked and angry? Can you confirm that person is an assassin? Also, is King Wei in this Imperial Guard? Is His Highness injured? Wang Yu looked nervously at Wang Chengwu and asked in a deep voice. We still can't confirm that person's identity. Wang Chengwu shook his head and said, This subordinate has already sent someone to investigate. However, according to the report of my subordinates, His Highness King Wei was not among them. No one saw His Highness injured either. Please rest assured, family head. Hearing this, Wang Yu inwardly heaved a sigh of relief. As long as Li Tai was fine, everything else could be discussed. Also, this subordinate has discovered something else, but I don't know if I should say it. At this time, Wang Chengwu suddenly said hesitantly. Wang Yu frowned and said, What is it? Speak quickly. Wang Chengwu thought for a moment, then cupped his hands and said, replying to Master, after the fire broke out in the south of the city, this subordinate saw Wang Li of the second branch return with some people in a hurry. This subordinate feels that they are a little, Who was Wang Yu? He had been an official for half his life. What had he not seen? Although Wang Chengwu's words were not complete, he understood what Wang Chengwu wanted to say. He put down the red brush in his hand and walked up to Wang Chengwu with a serious expression. You mean to say that the fire in the south of the city is very likely related to Wang Li? When he said this, even Wang Yu himself felt a little apprehensive. The implications of this matter were too great. If things were not handled properly, the entire Wang clan could be consigned to eternal damnation. Chapter 1899. This subordinate doesn't dare to be sure, but when I saw Wang Li and the others return, they all seemed to be in a hurry. This subordinate went forward to greet them, but they didn't respond and rushed straight to the second branch's courtyard. Wang Chengwu did not directly assert that there was a problem with Wang Li's group, but rather cautiously replied, No. There must be a problem with Wang Li. Wang Yu's brow furrowed. After a moment of silence, he said with certainty, At noon, an imperial edict was sent to Taiyuan, and Fang Gongting successfully took over military authority in Bing Province. The tens of thousands of soldiers in the Bing Province camp all poured out and spread throughout Taiyuan City. Afterward, this old man ordered the Wang clan's shadow guards to withdraw to the estate, leaving only a small number of people outside to gather information. For Wang Li to return at this time just in time for the fire in the southern part of the city, there must be a problem. Wang Yu had been an official for many years, and his sense of danger and conspiracy was far more sensitive than the average person's. Although he didn't have any direct evidence, he could conclude from Wang Chengwu's words that there was a problem with Wang Li. He didn't believe in coincidences, and he didn't believe that Wang Chengwu would hide such an important matter from him. Thus, he had already locked onto Wang Li's identity as a suspect. Has there been any unusual activity on Second Elder's side these past 2 days? Wang Yu quickly thought of the person behind Wang Li, Wang Kuei. If the fire in the southern part of the city was really Wang Li's doing, then the person behind Wang Li could not escape responsibility. As Wang Yu's trusted aide, Wang Chengwu naturally understood the meaning behind Wang Yu's words. After thinking for a moment, he cupped his fists and said, Ever since the second elder accepted the second young master, no, Wang Xinyuan, ever since the second elder accepted Wang Xinyuan as his grandson, he has been staying in the residence without any unusual movements. However, yesterday morning, Wang Xinyuan made a trip out of the residence. It is said that he went to the city to meet friends. But Wang Xinyuan has been imprisoned in the grievance hall for more than a year, and he has long lost contact with his former friends. This subordinate truly cannot think of anyone in Taiyuan City who could have such a deep friendship with Wang Xinyuan. Speaking of Wang Xinyuan, Wang Chengwu's expression was somewhat unnatural. Just a few days ago, Wang Xinyuan was still called Wang Reni, and he was still Wang Yu's biological son. But now, not only had Wang Reni's name been changed, he had even severed his relationship with Wang Yu. He was truly worried that Wang Yu would lose control of his emotions upon hearing Wang Xinyuan's name. However, it turned out that he was overthinking things. With the survival of the entire clan at stake, Wang Yu had no time to care about personal feelings. He only wanted to do business properly and bring the Wang clan out of the quagmire as quickly as possible. After a moment of silence, Wang Yu spoke. Qing Wu, from now on, you will personally lead a few experts to secretly monitor the second branch's every move. Whether it's Ren Yi, Wang Xinyuan, or the second elder, once they do anything suspicious, report to me immediately. Wang Qingwu was a master of martial arts at the Grand Master middle stage. He was the top fighter among the secret guards of the Wang family. Wang Yu was relieved to send him to monitor Wang Xinyuan and Wang Kuei. However, Wang Qingwu looked a little hesitant. He asked hesitantly, Patriarch, do you really want to monitor the second branch? But if second elder finds out, I can't care about that now. Wang Yu knew what Wang Qingwu was going to say. He waved his hand and interrupted. The situation in Taiyuan City is critical now. Although I don't know the background of the force hiding in the dark, it must be a hostile force of the imperial court. No one in the Wang family is allowed to collude with that force. Otherwise, the entire Wang family will be buried with him. At this time, I'd rather kill by mistake than miss out. If second elder finds out, tell him to come to me. If he's really magnanimous, I, Wang Yu, am willing to offer him a humble apology. The fire in the south of the city, Wang Li and the others had coincidentally returned home in a hurry. Furthermore, Wang Xinyuan had suddenly gone out yesterday, and Dugu Xian had been attacked by an assassin this morning. All these coincidences made Wang Yu feel extremely uneasy. At this time, he had to show the courage of a family head. Otherwise, the Wang family might really be consigned to eternal damnation. Seeing that Wang Yu had said this, Wang Qingwu did not dare to hesitate. He quickly cupped his fists and said, This subordinate obeys. I'll take some people to monitor second elder and Wang Xinyuan. After saying that, seeing that Wang Yu had no other instructions, Wang Qingwu cupped his fists and left. In the room, Wang Yu had long lost the mood to read the document. He frowned and stared blankly in front of him. No one knew what he was thinking. After a long time, Wang Yu suddenly stood up and muttered, This won't do. This old man has to go to the post house personally. After saying that, he flung his sleeves and walked out of the door. He had to find out why the fire suddenly broke out in the south of the city, and why the Imperial Army coincidentally appeared in the south of the city. Only by understanding these details could he better judge whether Wang Li was involved or not. Also, according to Wang Qingwu, the Imperial Army had captured someone alive. He wanted to know if the person captured by the Imperial Army was a hidden guard of the Wang family. More accurately, if he was a hidden guard of the Wang family's second branch, Wang Kuei. Field Officer's son, General Chiu invites you to his tent. He has something important to discuss. On the drill ground of the Black Armored Army, the soldiers of the various battalions were training in full swing under the scorching sun. Suddenly, a soldier from the 2nd Battalion jogged over from outside the drill ground and found Sun Tao, who was guiding the soldiers in their training. I got it. Go back and report on the completion of the mission. I will go over after giving some instructions. Sun Tao frowned and looked expressionlessly at the tent on the west side of the drill ground before speaking to the soldier. Yes. Seeing that he had received the order, the soldier didn't stay any longer and left. Sun Tao turned around and called for the deputy general of the camp to supervise the training of the soldiers. After which, he walked towards the tent on the west side of the drill ground. Speaking of which, ever since Li Zishuan joined the Black Armored Army and introduced the new drill, he had given the veterans of the 2nd Battalion a great deal of pressure. In the past, they might have been a little sloppy during training, but now, under the immense pressure exerted by Sun Tao, they didn't dare to be sloppy even if they wanted to. Greetings to the general. Arriving at Qiu Xingong's tent, Sun Tao greeted him as usual. However, at this moment, he felt a little conflicted. This was because he could roughly guess the reason why Qiu Xingong called him over today. And, Sun Tao, you're here? There's no need to stand on ceremony, take a seat. Qiu Xingong was looking through the military documents previously. When Sun Tao came in, he had already noticed him. However, he still waited for Sun Tao to finish his greeting before putting down the documents in his hands and raising his head. Thank you, General. Sun Tao thanked Qiu Xingong and did not stand on ceremony. He sat down on the seat to Qiu Xingong's left. Cough, cough. Qiu Xingong coughed lightly and looked in the direction of the entrance of the tent. After that, he smiled and asked Sun Tao, Field Officer Sun, the reason this old man called you here today is to ask you about the preparations of our 2nd Battalion for tomorrow's fighting competition. Sun Tao thought to himself that this was indeed the case, but he didn't show it on his face. He cupped his fists towards Qiu Xingong and said, replying to General, the entire 2nd Battalion has been training hard these few days. No one dares to slack off. In addition, most of the people in our battalion are veterans from the Black Armored Army who have experienced hundreds of battles. I believe that in tomorrow's martial arts competition, our 2nd Battalion will definitely not lose to the 5th Battalion. Qiu Xingong didn't directly ask Sun Tao if the 2nd camp could win against the 5th camp. However, how could Sun Tao not understand what Qiu Xingong meant? He didn't hide anything and directly asked the question that Qiu Xingong was most concerned about. From this, it could be seen that even though Sun Tao was working for Qiu Xingong, his personality was still relatively straightforward and even a little arrogant. Good. Good. I really didn't misjudge you. Hearing such a confident answer from Sun Tao, Qiu Xingong couldn't help but be pleased. He smiled and said, for tomorrow's combat competition, send out all the experts from the 2nd camp. Don't worry about the other camps, just make sure that they win against the 5th camp. I will definitely make Li Zixuan lose all his face in tomorrow's combat competition. For this old fellow to say such words, he was truly shameless. Just like what Sun Tao had said earlier, the majority of the soldiers in the B Battalion were veterans of the Black Armored Army. No matter if it was personal strength or battle experience, they had an advantage over the group of new recruits in the E Battalion. This was not an evenly matched competition to begin with. However, Qiu Xingong seemed to be going all out and wanting to kill all of them. Furthermore, this old man did not feel that he had an unfair advantage at all. In any case, as long as he won, no matter how the process was, he would still be very happy. This general obeys. Sun Tao's skin wasn't as thick as Qiu Xingong's. Hearing this, the corner of his mouth twitched and his face was a little embarrassed. However, after hesitating for a moment, he still cupped his fists and accepted the order. In fact, he had always wanted to win against the 5th camp fair and square. This kind of battle wasn't evenly matched to begin with. Even if he won, he wouldn't feel proud of it. Chapter 1900. In Qiu Xingong's tent in the camp of the Black Armored Army. Faced with Qiu Xingong's request, Sun Tao subconsciously rejected it. Not to mention that with his personality, he would never do such a thing. Even if he could get past him, he would not be able to get past the military law. The Black Armored Army was the most outstanding heavy cavalry force in Great Tang. The military law in the Black Armored Army was stricter than any other army. In the Black Armored Army, intentionally harming a fellow soldier would be punished according to the severity of the punishment. As for intentionally killing a fellow soldier, this was even more severe. The punishment would be death without any room for negotiation. Thus, even though Qiu Xingong was Sun Tao's superior, Sun Tao didn't dare to agree to such a request. Furthermore, under Qiu Xingong's instructions, Zhang Kongyan instigated a mutiny among the soldiers of the Wu battalion. In the end, he was beheaded in front of everyone. This incident was still fresh in Sun Tao's mind. As Qiu Xingong's trusted aide, he knew better than anyone else who Zhang Kongyan was under. If he were to agree to Qiu Xingong's request, once the matter blew up, Duan Zhixuan would definitely hold him accountable as a lieutenant of the 2nd Battalion. He dared to guarantee that Qiu Xingong wouldn't save him, nor would he be able to save him. He might very well follow in Zhang Kongyan's footsteps and become Qiu Xingong's scapegoat. According to the military law, intentionally killing a fellow soldier is indeed a capital offense. However, it also depends on the situation. In this martial arts competition, swords and spears have no eyes. It's normal for 1 or 2 mishaps to occur. Seeing that Sun Tao had rejected his request, a hint of displeasure flashed across Qiu Xingong's face. However, he quickly concealed it. He smiled and patted Sun Tao's shoulder before saying, "Besides, didn't Li Zixuan say that he would rather the soldiers sweat more on the training grounds and even suffer more injuries than losing their lives on the battlefield?" In the previous training in the Wu battalion, because of Li Zixuan, how many soldiers were injured for no reason? At the end of the day, tomorrow's fighting competition is also a form of training. Why can't you let those 2nd Battalion experts be a little more heavy-handed? If you don't want to make a big deal out of this, you can also tell them that they only need to heavily injure the people of the Wu battalion. There's no need to kill them. In this way, even if Li Zixuan knows that we're doing this on purpose, he won't be able to say anything. After all, the soldiers in the army have been injured a lot because of his new training exercises. Qiu Xingong, who was used to scheming, actually started to use it this time. As he said, it was Li Zixuan who suggested that the soldiers should not be afraid of getting hurt when they were injured. Because of this, many soldiers and horses in the Wu battalion were injured. It was also because of this that Qiu Xingong had the idea of instigating a mutiny in the Wu battalion. However, his original plan failed, and he even lost one of his generals because of it. Furthermore, he even sent the 3rd Battalion to Li Zixuan's hands. This time, he wanted to give Li Zixuan a taste of his own medicine. Not only would he make Li Zixuan lose all his face, he would also suffer unspeakable hardships. This, Sun Tao frowned and hesitated for a moment. Although Qiu Xingong had taken a step back, he still felt that this kind of underhanded trick was a little unfair even if he won in the end. After all, the overall strength of the 2nd Battalion was much stronger than the Wu Battalion. Of course, this was what Sun Tao thought. Chapter 1901. Wen Hao, I've already sent you the firepower generator and the telegraph transceiver. Now I'll have to trouble you to quickly assemble and debug them. Try to have the firepower generator up and running in 2 days. There are still some things I need to do at the post house, so I need to go back and take care of them. Once I'm done, I'll come back immediately. Taiyuan, Dragon Mountain. Under the protection of Dugu Feiying and the other Imperial Army soldiers, Li Tai and the others finally transported the firepower generator and other equipment to the Boy Temple at the top of the mountain. After all the equipment had been properly installed, Li Tai said to Meng Wenhao. In the morning, after they had finalized the location of Dragon Mountain as the telegraph relay station, Meng Wenhao had remained on Dragon Mountain to coordinate the preliminary preparations. In the afternoon, when Li Tai and the others arrived at the Boy Temple again, the place had already undergone a complete makeover. Everything that needed to be cleaned had been cleaned, and the roof had been repaired. Most importantly, the Imperial Army had completed a comprehensive defense around Dragon Mountain according to the terrain. In the ravines, behind the boulders, on the treetops, and so on, there were Imperial Army spies hidden in every corner. The entire mountain had now become a solid iron bucket. Even a martial grandmaster like Wu Jie would not be able to quietly sneak into the boy temple from the foot of the mountain. In other words, unless there was a well-trained army of more than 5,000 people attacking the mountain at all costs, it would be impossible to take down the current Dragon Mountain. If a weaker army rashly attacked the mountain, they would only suffer heavy losses because they had no idea where there were traps or where the Imperial Army soldiers were hiding in the dark. And you can rest assured. Although my experience in engineering projects is not as good as yours, these things won't be difficult for me. Besides, I have so many classmates helping me. Meng Wenhao nodded solemnly and promised. Then, he looked at Li Tai and said with a serious face, "Qinke, you should be more careful in the city. We've all heard about the assassination of General Dugu. I suspect that there's a group of people in Taiyuan City who don't want us to build a telegraph relay station. Qinke, your identity is special, so they will definitely find ways to make a move on you." It had been a long time since the assassination attempt on Dugu Xin in the morning. Although Meng Wenhao and the other students of Yanhuang Academy had been waiting here since they arrived at Dragon Mountain, they still heard the news of the assassination attempt on Dugu Xin. Those who could enter Yanhuang Academy were not stupid. They knew very well how dangerous the situation they were facing was. But even under such circumstances, not a single one of them wanted to withdraw out of fear. They were schoolmates, but at this moment they were more like comrades in arms. In times of crisis, they helped each other and could trust each other with their back. This was the golden generation of the Yanhuang Academy. In the future, when the Tang Empire defeated the Turks, there would definitely be a place for them in the history books. "Wenhao, I'm relieved to hear your words." Li Tai smiled faintly, but his face was calm. He said, "As for my safety, you don't have to worry. Now there are tens of thousands of soldiers in the Bing province barracks in the city. General Fei Ying and Iron Egg will also protect me at all times. It won't be easy for those rats hiding in the dark to hurt me. Our main task now is to build the telegraph relay station as soon as possible. The more those people don't want us to build it, the more we won't let them. If Dragon Mountain lacks anything, you can send someone down the mountain to inform Mr. Mo Chue. He will prepare it for you." Chapter 1902. Taiyuan was a large city in the north, so the post house in the city was not small. There were dozens of rooms of various sizes. In ancient times, a post house was similar to a modern-day guest house or hotel. It was used for officials who passed on official documents. Those who passed on information could also drink tea and change horses. With the Tang Dynasty, the post house system was already very developed and there were many of them. A highly efficient post house could ensure that information was passed on in a timely and accurate manner. It was an important guarantee for victory in a war. Ever since Li Tai and the others entered the city and decided to stay in the post house, Wang Liaoyuan had people clear out all the guests in the post house. Of course, he did not chase them out directly. Instead, the provincial governor's office paid for them to stay in the guest house temporarily. In any case, it did not matter where they stayed. Furthermore, the environment of the guest house was better than the post house. As such, the original guests in the post house cooperated with the provincial governor's office's work and moved to the guest house. The post house was completely occupied by the Yanhuang College teachers and students as well as the Imperial Army. The security of the post house was also fully taken over by the Imperial Army. This place had already been turned into a military base. In a secret room on the east side of the post house, the Imperial Army had already turned it into a temporary prison. A man with disheveled hair was tied to a wooden frame. His skin and flesh were lacerated, and his clothes were torn in many places due to the whipping. At this moment, his head was lowered and he did not move at all. As his face was completely covered by his hair, no one could tell if he was unconscious or awake. That was the scene Dugu Xian saw when he walked into the cell. Zhang Dafu stood beside Dugu Xian. In truth, he had been supporting Dugu Xian the entire time. However, when they approached the prison, Dugu Xian told him to let go, so he did not continue to support him. At this moment, seeing the confusion in Dugu Xian's eyes as he looked at the assassin, he quickly explained in a low voice, "General, this fellow is not unconscious. However, no matter how we beat him, he did not make a sound. It was as if the punishment did not fall on him." After saying this, he quickly said to a soldier in the prison, "Go. Raise this fellow's head. Oh, and bring another chair over." Taiyuan was a big city in the north, so the post house in the city was naturally not small. There were dozens of big and small houses. In ancient times, post houses were similar to modern guest houses or hotels. They were for officials to pass on official documents and travel to and fro. Those who passed on messages could also drink tea and change horses here. With the first generation of the Tang Dynasty, the post-house system was already very developed and there were many of them. The efficient operation of the post-house could ensure the timely and accurate transmission of information. It was an important guarantee for victory in the war. Ever since Li Tai and the others entered the city and decided to stay in the inn, Wang Liaoyuan had people clear out all the guests in the inn. Of course, he didn't chase them out directly. Instead, the provincial governor's estate paid for them to stay in the inn. After all, it didn't matter where they stayed. Moreover, the environment of the inn was better than the post-house. Therefore, the original guests in the post-house cooperated with the provincial governor's work and moved to the inn. The post-house was completely occupied by the teachers and students of Yanhuang College and the Imperial Army. The security of the post-house was also fully taken over by the Imperial Army. This place had already been turned into a military base. In a secret room on the east side of the post-house, the Imperial Army had already turned it into a temporary prison. A man with disheveled hair was tied to a wooden frame. His skin and flesh were lacerated, and his clothes were torn in many places due to the whipping. At this moment, his head was lowered and he didn't move at all. As his face was covered by his hair, no one could tell if he was unconscious or awake. That was the scene Dugu Xian saw when he walked into the cell. Zhang Dafu stood beside Dugu Xian and explained, "General, this fellow is not unconscious. However, no matter how we beat him, he did not make a sound. It was as if the punishment did not fall on him." Chapter 1903. Wang Family Head, I'm truly sorry. This junior was busy interrogating the assassin and didn't want to keep you waiting outside, so I could only have you come here. Please forgive me. Wang Yu appeared at the door of the cell. Dugu Xian was about to stand up to welcome him, but Zhang Dafu quickly helped him up. Dugu Xian steadied himself and gestured for Zhang Dafu to step aside before politely cupping his fists at Wang Yu. Even though he had previously suspected that Star Wolf came from the Wang clan, it was only a suspicion without any concrete evidence. Moreover, when Dugu Feiying had been searching for Zhu Xieqing and Kong Chang'an in Sourcepeak City, Wang Yu had helped him quite a bit. Thus, when facing Wang Yu, Dugu Xian was still as polite as before. Honorable nephew Dugu must be joking. This old man should be the one bothering you. Wang Yu did not put on airs and instead affectionately called him Honorable Nephew. The Wang family of Taiyuan and the Dugu clan of Luoyang could be considered old friends. As an elder, it was reasonable for Wang Yu to call Dugu Xian Honorable Nephew. After this polite exchange, Wang Yu looked at Dugu Xian and asked with concern, Honorable Nephew, you've just been cured of the poison. Are you all right now? Thanks to Uncle Wang, I'm fine now. I also have to thank Uncle Wang for inviting the divine doctor to treat me. Otherwise, this junior really might not have been able to wake up. Dugu Xian solemnly cupped his fists at Wang Yu. Since Wang Yu had addressed him as nephew, it wouldn't be too much for him to address him as uncle. Furthermore, Dugu Xin had already heard about what had happened at the post house this morning from the people around him. He knew that if Wang Yu hadn't invited the best, and also the most difficult to invite, physician in Taiyuan, Gongsun Liang, there was a high chance that he would have died from the poison by now. Thus, from a certain perspective, Wang Yu could be considered his savior. If he still coldly called Wang Yu Wang family head, it would be a little too unreasonable. Ha! That's good. That's good. Dugu Xin, addressing him as uncle, made Wang Yu heave a sigh of relief. In just a few words, the relationship between the two of them had become much closer. Now, he could naturally ask Dugu Xin to help him investigate the identity of the captured assassin. This old man just received news that a fire broke out in the south of the city, and the Imperial Army happened to capture someone at the scene. This old man was worried about your Highness' safety, so I came to take a look. Oh right. Just now, my nephew said that he was interrogating the assassin. Could it be that the person the Imperial Guard caught in the southern part of the city was the assassin? Is His Highness doing well? Wang Yu remembered the purpose of his visit and the words Dugu Xin had said at the beginning. His expression was shocked, and he cupped his hands at Dugu Xin as he looked around the cell. He looked around and saw that there was another person hanging on the rack. It was Star Wolf. However, Star Wolf had lowered his head again. His messy hair easily covered his face, so Wang Yu couldn't see his face clearly. Dugu Xin followed Wang Yu's gaze, paused for a moment, then turned his head and replied, "Uncle Wang is not an outsider, so this junior will tell you the truth. Earlier, His Highness and Flying Eagle brought people to escort a batch of important resources from Yanhuang College to Longshan. Unexpectedly, they were ambushed in a small alley in the south of the city. The enemy used 4 burning carriages to attack the convoy from the front and back. At the critical moment, Flying Eagle could only order the soldiers to scatter in all directions to save their lives, and the resources of the college were all burned. Amidst the chaos, an assassin flew over and tried to kidnap your Highness. Look, this is the assassin." As he spoke, Dugu Xin pointed at Star Wolf on the rack. Hearing this, Wang Yu finally understood what had happened in the small alley in the south of the city 15 minutes ago. However, at this time, he couldn't care less about the assassin. He only wanted to know how Li Tai was doing. Thus, he hurriedly asked with a nervous expression, "How is His Highness now? This old man didn't see His Highness at the inn?" Chapter 1904. Uncle is experienced and knowledgeable, yet you don't recognize this person. Could it be that this person isn't from Taiyuan? Taiyuan Courier Station, in a prison cell. Hearing Wang Yu say that he had never seen Star Wolf's eyes narrowed slightly. There was no expression on his face, but he inwardly let out a sigh of relief. Dugu Xin turned his head and said to Wang Yu. Wang Yu's gaze was like lightning. His eyes had actually been fixed on Star Wolf this entire time. Although Star Wolf didn't show any particular expression after hearing his words, he still felt that it was somewhat strange. Generally speaking, a person's thoughts would often inevitably affect the expression on their face and eyes. No matter how well they controlled their expression and eyes, it was impossible for there to be no change at all. Just now, Wang Yu had clearly seen a hint of relief flash across Star Wolf's face, as well as a hint of relief in his eyes. The change was very small, but Wang Yu had come to the courier station with a goal in mind. From the moment he entered the prison cell, his eyes had been fixed on Star Wolf. Naturally, Wang Yu had caught the slight change in Star Wolf's expression and eyes. Not necessarily. After a moment of silence, Wang Yu shook his head and said to Dugu Xin, "This old man isn't in Taiyuan all year round. How could I dare say that I know everyone in Taiyuan City? However, since this assassin is in our hands, nephew can use torture on him. Do you think he won't reveal his identity under torture?" Dugu Xin sighed and said, "Uncle may not know, but before you came, this junior had already ordered people to use all kinds of torture on this fellow. However, this fellow's mouth was tight, and he didn't say a word from beginning to end. Thus, this junior guesses that this person is an assassin specially trained by some faction. Only someone who has undergone a long period of cruel and harsh training would be able to be like him, unafraid of pain and death. Wang Yu was shocked when he heard this. There's actually such a thing? An assassin? According to what you said, even if this person isn't an assassin, he should be a specially trained death warrior. The person behind him must be quite powerful. At the same time, Wang Yu felt that his guess was getting closer and closer to reality. The assassin in front of him was so well trained that he clearly wasn't someone a small faction could train. And who was the largest faction in Taiyuan City? It was the Wang family. This meant that the assassin on the gallows was most likely someone secretly groomed by the Wang family's second elder, Wang Kai. After hearing Wang Yu's words, Dugu Xian did not have time to react. Instead, Star Wolf lowered his eyes. He did not dare to look at Wang Yu again because he was afraid of exposing himself. Uncle's words are exactly what I was thinking. Dugu Xian nodded his head in approval. This person is so well trained, so the person behind him must be extraordinary. It's just that we've used all kinds of torture on him, but he still refuses to say anything. I wonder if Uncle has a good plan? In fact, from the moment Wang Yu stepped into the prison cell, Dugu Xian had been probing the relationship between Wang Yu and Star Wolf. Up until now, Dugu Xian had basically confirmed that Wang Yu really didn't know Star Wolf. This was the intuition of a martial artist. Unless Wang Yu's acting skills were so superb that he could deceive the eyes of a martial scholar, Dugu Xian did not believe that his judgment would be wrong. Therefore, Dugu Xian was sincerely seeking advice from Wang Yu, hoping to find a way to break out of this situation. Chapter 1905. Who are Wang Li and Wang Kuei? After Wang Yu left his cell, Dugu Xian also left his cell with the help of an Imperial Army soldier. After returning to his room, he sat down and asked Zhao Eru, the Imperial Army soldier who had helped him back. Zhao Eru had come with Dugu Feiying to Sorespeak City to gather intelligence and eliminate hidden threats, so he had a relatively good understanding of the situation in the city. Upon hearing this, he replied, "General, based on what this subordinate knows, Wang Kuei is the second elder of the Wang clan and belongs to the second branch of the Wang clan. But this subordinate has never heard of this Wang Li. Should this subordinate go and investigate? The second elder of the Wang clan?" Hearing this, Dugu Xian's heart moved. After pondering for a moment, he instructed Zhao Eru, "Go investigate this Wang Li's identity and see if he's related to this Wang clan's second elder." In the matter of investigating the identity of the assassin, Wang Yu could be said to have contributed both in terms of strategy and effort. As a result, it was basically ruled out that the assassin was related to Wang Yu. However, Dugu Xian still felt that Wang Yu seemed to know something and was hiding something from him. Especially the 2 sentences Wang Yu had asked Star Wolf before he left, which made Dugu Xian even more suspicious. Thus, it was imperative to investigate the identities of Wang Li and Wang Kuei first. Yes. Zhao Eru cupped his fists in acknowledgement. Seeing that Dugu Xian had no other orders, he turned and left. Who are Wang Li and Wang Kuei? After Wang Yu left, Dugu Xian left his cell with the help of an Imperial Army soldier and returned to his room. After sitting down, he asked Zhao Eru, the Imperial Army soldier who had helped him back. Zhao Eru had come with Dugu Feiying to Sorespeak City to gather intelligence and eliminate hidden threats, so he had a relatively good understanding of the situation in the city. Upon hearing this, he replied, "General, based on what this subordinate knows, Wang Kuei is the second elder of the Wang clan and belongs to the second branch of the Wang clan. But this subordinate has never heard of this Wang Li. Should this subordinate go and investigate? The second elder of the Wang clan? Hearing this, Dugu Xian's heart moved. After pondering for a moment, he instructed Zhao Eru, "Go investigate this Wang Li's identity and see if he's related to this Wang clan's second elder." In the matter of investigating the identity of the assassin, Wang Yu could be said to have contributed both in terms of strategy and effort. As a result, it was basically ruled out that the assassin was related to Wang Yu. However, Dugu Xian still felt that Wang Yu seemed to know something and was hiding something from him. Especially the 2 sentences Wang Yu had asked Star Wolf before he left, it made Dugu Xian even more suspicious. Therefore, it was very necessary to investigate the identities of Wang Li and Wang Kuei first. Here, Zhao Eru cupped his fists and accepted the order. Seeing that Dugu Xian had no other orders, he turned and left. Who are Wang Li and Wang Kuei? In Sorespeak Courier Station, after Wang Yu left, Dugu Xian left his cell with the help of an Imperial Army soldier and returned to his room. After sitting down, he asked Zhao Eru, the Imperial Army soldier who had helped him back. Zhao Eru had come with Dugu Feiying to Sorespeak City to gather intelligence and eliminate hidden threats, so he had a relatively good understanding of the situation in the city. Upon hearing this, he replied, "General, based on what this subordinate knows, this Wang Kuei is the second elder of the Wang clan and belongs to the second branch of the Wang clan. But this subordinate has never heard of this Wang Li. Should this subordinate go and investigate? The second elder of the Wang clan?" Chapter 1906. This old man, who this old man is isn't important. What is important is that this old man has intercepted an urgent report. This matter concerns the life and death of His Highness King Wei and the several 100,000 people of Taiyuan City. General, please quickly open the gates and do not delay this important military mission. Outside the western gate of Taiyuan City, the burly man dressed in coarse brown robes looked up at the captain of the Bing province barracks and loudly shouted, "This matter concerns the life and death of His Highness King Wei and the several 100,000 people of Taiyuan City?" What bold words! The captain had originally believed that this old man had important information to report, but after hearing the old man's words, he snorted derisively. Taiyuan City was the largest city in the north of the Great Tang. Its walls were tall and thick, and the city had tens of thousands of elite soldiers. Most importantly, Taiyuan City was not on the border and was surrounded by other provinces and counties. If Taiyuan City encountered an emergency, the soldiers of the other provinces and counties would rush to the rescue. In these circumstances, the captain truly did not believe that anyone could threaten the lives of the several 100,000 people of Taiyuan City. You should go back. In consideration of your age, this general will not lower himself to your level. If you continue to shout and pester endlessly, don't blame this general for having you arrested and charged with the crime of colluding with the enemy. The lieutenant on the city gate tower had a cold expression as he pointed at the old man below the city and shouted, "Colluding with the enemy? When did this old man collude with the enemy? Let this old man into the city, and take this old man to see His Highness King Wei. At that time, His Highness will judge whether or not this old man has colluded with the enemy." Being accused of colluding with the enemy for no reason, the old man was instantly enraged. However, he also understood what was the most important thing at this time, so he resisted the urge to scold and shouted at the lieutenant. "Humph! Is His Highness someone you can see just because you want to? Don't make so much noise. Do you believe that this general won't have you arrested?" The captain coldly said. Although his words were somewhat impolite, there was actually nothing wrong with them. Not to mention that the situation in the city was urgent, even if it was during normal times. He couldn't just casually bring someone to see Li Tai just because they said that they had important matters to discuss, right? If the other party wanted to harm Li Tai, he wouldn't be able to bear the responsibility. Therefore, he only wanted to scare the old man and drive him away. He didn't want to cause any more trouble. The old man was not afraid at all. He raised his head and rebuked angrily, "I do have urgent information to report to King Wei. If you don't believe me, then arrest me. If I delay the military mission, will His Highness spare you? How can the hundreds of thousands of people in Taiyuan City spare you?" Seeing that the old man wasn't scared away by him and instead refused to give up, he was a little angry and said, "Fine. Good. Men, arrest this man and bring him to the provincial governor's office for him to deal with." "Lieutenant, the soldier beside the commandant of the city gate tower was somewhat hesitant. After all, if the old man really had important information and they captured him, then they would be in deep trouble. "What? Are you not going to listen to me? This was a military order. Take him down." The commandant glared at him, and the soldier didn't dare to say anything else. He quickly cupped his fists and said, "Understood." Not long after, the city gate opened and 4 or 5 soldiers came out and came to the old man. The old man glared at them and a fierce aura spread out. Everyone couldn't help but be surprised. They didn't expect this old man to be a martial artist. Chapter 1907. This old man went hunting in the mountains this morning and was lucky enough to encounter a few wild geese returning to the south. Just as I was about to draw my bow and shoot down one of them, I unexpectedly missed. Who would have thought that a white pigeon would fly in from the southeast direction? My arrow hit the carrier pigeon without missing a beat. This old man thought that it was just an ordinary pigeon, but to his surprise, the pigeon had a letter tied to its leg. When I opened it, I saw that the letter was written in Turkic script. In the past, Laofu followed General Qin and fought with the Turks on the grassland many times, so I can be considered to know some of the characters there. The great Tang's King of Wei is leading the teachers and students of Yanhuang College to build a telegraph relay station in Taiyuan. Once this station is completed, the Tang army will be able to communicate with each other anywhere on the steppe and send news back to Chang in an instant. This will pose an enormous threat to our Turks. This subject earnestly requests that the Great Khan dispatch 10,000 wolf cavalry to quietly infiltrate the Great Tang and surround Taiyuan City. This subject is confident that we can capture Taiyuan City in half a day. At that time, we can capture the Great Tang's King of Wei and the teachers and students of Yanhuang College and have them work for our Turks. After this old man read this letter, he felt that this matter was of great importance and rode to Taiyuan City to report to Your Highness. To his surprise, Taiyuan City was already under martial law, making it difficult for this old man to enter without revealing his identity. I could only have the city guards bring this old man into the city. I didn't think that I would run into Your Highness the moment I entered the city. Taiyuan Courier Station, in a quiet room, Li Tai, Dugu Xian, Dugu Feiying, Iron Egg, Ink Chue and Han Tianhu were seated. Once everyone was seated, Han Tianhu got straight to the point, explaining his purpose in coming to Taiyuan City. Everyone couldn't help but grimace. It was clear that they had all realized the gravity of the situation. Dugu Xian was the first to speak. "Lord Han, might I ask where this secret letter is?" Although they had all learned of Han Tianhu's identity from Li Tai's introduction and knew that with Han Tianhu's identity, it was impossible for him to lie about something like this. However, it was precisely because of how important this matter was that they needed to see for themselves. Han Tianhu reached into his inner pocket and took out a small piece of paper. He then stood up and handed it to Li Tai. "This is the secret letter from the carrier pigeon. Please take a look." Li Tai received it with both hands. He opened it and saw a few lines of small characters. However, he did not understand the Turkic language, so he could not tell what it was. Thus, he turned to Dugu Xian and asked, "Does General Dugu know the Turkic language?" As the commander of the imperial army, Dugu Xian had to maintain the safety of the palace. He had to deal with foreign spies on a daily basis, so he naturally understood the Turkic language. Hearing this, he nodded and said, "This general understands a little." Li Tai handed the piece of paper over to Dugu Xian. "General Dugu, please take a look. Here." Dugu Xian did not waste any time on pleasantries. He took the paper and began to carefully read it. Everyone looked over, and after a while, Dugu Xian put away the paper, raised his head, and solemnly cupped his fists to Li Tai. "Your Highness, the contents of this letter are exactly the same as what Lord Han said." Chapter 1908. Lord Han's words are reasonable. In the secret room of Taiyuan Courier Station, Mo Chue couldn't help but nod. This is no longer just a matter of Yanhuang College. It concerns the dignity of the Great Tang and the safety of the hundreds of thousands of people in Taiyuan City. We must make plans as soon as possible. We must not only prevent the Turkic army from sneaking into the Great Tang, but we must also capture Zhao Dian as quickly as possible. Otherwise, if we allow him to stir up trouble in the shadows, we will have no end of trouble. Dugu Xian was the highest-ranking military officer in charge of escorting the Academy north, so he was naturally the one to complete the 2 missions Mo Chue spoke of. He clasped his fist to Li Tai and sternly said, "Your Highness, this general believes that we should immediately inform Governor Wang of this matter. The strength of the Imperial Army alone cannot guarantee the safety of the people of Taiyuan City, nor can we find the mastermind behind the scenes. We need to borrow the strength of the provincial governor's residence and the Bing province barracks. On the one hand, we need to dispatch people to Feng province, Xing province, Yun province, and Yuzhou, using the Bing province governor's residence to warn the 4 provinces to be more vigilant. If the Turkic army wants to sneak into the Great Tang, it will most likely pass through these 4 provinces. On the other hand, just because we haven't heard of Zhao Dian doesn't mean that the people in the Bing province barracks haven't heard of him. Compared to our previous aimless search, we now have a clear target. As long as we find out who Zhao Dian is, it will be much easier to find him. Moreover, I believe that there is one person who has definitely heard of Zhao Dian. Who is it?" Hearing that, everyone in the room turned their gazes to Dugu Xian. Dugu Xian slowly said, "The head of the Wang clan, Wang Yu." Lord Han's words are reasonable. In the secret room of Taiyuan Courier Station, Mo Chue couldn't help but nod. This is no longer just a matter of Yanhuang College. It concerns the dignity of the Great Tang and the safety of the hundreds of thousands of people in Taiyuan City. We must make plans as soon as possible. We must not only prevent the Turkic army from sneaking into the Great Tang, but we also need to capture Zhao Dian as quickly as possible. Otherwise, if we allow him to stir up trouble in the shadows, we will have no end of trouble. As the highest military officer in charge of escorting the academy to the north, Dugu Xian should naturally complete the 2 tasks mentioned by Mo Chue. He saluted Li Tai and said in a deep voice, "Your Highness, this general believes that we should immediately inform Governor Wang of this matter. The strength of the Imperial Army alone cannot guarantee the safety of the people of Sourcepeak City, nor can we find the mastermind behind this. We need to borrow the strength of the provincial governor's residence and the Bing province barracks. On the one hand, we need to dispatch people to Feng province, Xing province, Yun province, and Yuzhou, using the name of the Bing province governor's residence to warn these 4 provinces to increase their vigilance. If the Turkic army wants to sneak into the Great Tang, it will most likely pass through these 4 provinces. On the other hand, although we haven't heard of Zhao Dian, it doesn't mean that the people in the government office or the Bing province barracks haven't heard of him. Compared to the previous aimless search, at least we have a clear target now. As long as we find out Zhao Dian's background, it will be easier to find him. Moreover, I believe that one person must have heard of Zhao Dian. Who is it? Hearing that, everyone in the room turned their gazes to Dugu Xian. Dugu Xian slowly said, "The head of the Wang clan, Wang Yu. Lord Han's words are reasonable. In the secret room of Sorespeak Courier Station, Mo Chue couldn't help but nod. This is no longer a matter of Yanhuang College. It concerns the dignity of the great Tang and the safety of the hundreds of thousands of people in Sorespeak City. We must make plans as soon as possible. We must not only prevent the Turkic army from sneaking into the great Tang, but we also need to capture Zhao Dian in the city as quickly as possible. Otherwise, if we allow this person to stir up trouble in the shadows, we will have no end of trouble. As the highest military officer in charge of escorting the Academy North, Dugu Xin should naturally complete the two tasks mentioned by Mo Chue. He cupped his fists to Li Tai and sternly said, "Your Highness, this general believes that we should immediately notify Governor Wang. Your Highness, this general believes that we should immediately inform Governor Wang of this matter. The strength of the Imperial Army alone cannot guarantee the safety of the people of Sorespeak City, nor can we find the mastermind behind this. We need to borrow the strength of the provincial governor's residence and the Bing province barracks. On the one hand, we need to dispatch people to Feng province, Xing province, Yun province, and Yuzhou, using the Bing province barracks name to warn the four provinces to be more vigilant. This is because if the Turkic army wants to sneak into the Great Tang, it will most likely pass through these four provinces. On the other hand, just because we haven't heard of Zhao Dian doesn't mean that the people in the Bing province barracks haven't heard of him. Compared to our previous aimless search, we now have a clear target. As long as we investigate Zhao Dian's background, it will be much easier to find him. Moreover, I believe that there is someone who has definitely heard of Zhao Dian. Who is it? Hearing that, everyone in the room turned their gazes to Dugu Xin. Dugu Xin slowly said, "The head of the Wang clan, Wang Yu." Lord Han's words are reasonable. In the secret room of Sorespeak Courier Station, Mo Chue couldn't help but nod. This is no longer just a matter of Yanhuang College. It concerns the dignity of the Great Tang and the safety of the hundreds of thousands of people in Sorespeak City. We must make plans as soon as possible. We must not only prevent the Turkic army from sneaking into the Great Tang, but we also need to capture Zhao Dian as quickly as possible. Otherwise, if we allow him to stir up trouble in the shadows, we will have no end of trouble. Dugu Xin was the highest-ranking military officer in charge of escorting the Academy North, so he naturally had to complete the two missions Mo Chue had spoken of. He clasped his fist to Li Tai and sternly said, "Your Highness, this general believes that we should immediately inform Governor Wang of this matter. The strength of the Imperial Army alone cannot guarantee the safety of the people of Sorespeak City, nor can we find the mastermind behind the scenes. We need to borrow the strength of the provincial governor's residence and the Bing province barracks. On the one hand, we need to dispatch people to Feng province, Xing province, Yun province, and Yuzhou, using the name of the provincial governor's residence to warn these four provinces to be more vigilant. This is because if the Turkic army wants to sneak into the Great Tang, it will most likely pass through these four provinces. On the other hand, just because we haven't heard of Zhao Dian doesn't mean that the people in the Bing province barracks haven't heard of him. Compared to our previous aimless search, at least we now have a clear target. As long as we find out Zhao Dian's background, it will be much easier to find him. Moreover, I believe that there is one person who has definitely heard of Zhao Dian. Who is it? Hearing that, everyone in the room turned their gazes to Dugu Xin. Dugu Xin slowly said, "The head of the Wang clan, Wang Yu." Lord Han's words are reasonable. In the secret room of Taiyuan Courier Station, Mo Chue couldn't help but nod. This is no longer just a matter of Yanhuang College. It concerns the dignity of the Great Tang and the safety of the hundreds of thousands of people in Taiyuan City. We must make plans as soon as possible. We must not only prevent the Turkic army from sneaking into the Great Tang, but we also need to capture Zhao Dian in the city as quickly as possible. Otherwise, if we allow this person to stir up trouble in the shadows, there will be no end of trouble. Dugu Xian was the highest-ranking military officer in charge of escorting the academy north, so he naturally had to complete the 2 missions Mo Chue had spoken of. He clasped his fist to Li Tai and sternly said, "Your Highness, this general believes that we should immediately inform Provincial Governor Wang of this matter. The strength of the Imperial Army alone cannot guarantee the safety of the people of Taiyuan City, nor can we find the mastermind behind the scenes. We need to borrow the strength of the Provincial Governor's residence and the Bing Province barracks. On the one hand, we need to dispatch people to Feng Province, Xing Province, Yun Province, and Yuzhou, using the name of the Provincial Governor's residence to warn these 4 provinces to be more vigilant. This is because if the Turkic army wants to sneak into the Great Tang, it will most likely pass through these 4 provinces. On the other hand, just because we haven't heard of Zhao Dian doesn't mean that the people in the Bing Province barracks haven't heard of him. Compared to our previous aimless search, we now have a clear target. As long as we find out who Zhao Dian is, it will be much easier to find him. Moreover, I believe that there is one person who has definitely heard of Zhao Dian. Who is it?" Hearing that, everyone in the room turned their gazes to Dugu Xian. Dugu Xian slowly said, "The head of the Wang clan, Wang Yu." Lord Han's words are reasonable. In the secret room of Taiyuan Courier Station, Mo Chue couldn't help but nod. This is no longer just a matter of Yanhuang College. It concerns the dignity of the Great Tang and the safety of the hundreds of thousands of people in Taiyuan City. We must make plans as soon as possible. We must not only prevent the Turkic army from sneaking into the Great Tang, but we also need to capture Zhao Dian in the city as quickly as possible. Otherwise, if we allow this person to stir up trouble in the shadows, we will have no end of trouble. Dugu Xian was the highest military commander in charge of escorting the academy north, so he naturally had to complete the 2 missions Mo Chue had spoken of. He clasped his fist to Li Tai and sternly said, this prince needs to be informed. Your Highness, this general believes that we should immediately inform Governor Wang of this matter. The strength of the Imperial Army alone cannot guarantee the safety of the people of Sourcepeak City, nor can we find the mastermind behind this. We need to borrow the strength of the Provincial Governor's residence and the Bing Province barracks. On the one hand, we need to dispatch people to Feng Province, Xing Province, Yun Province, and Yuzhou, using the name of the Provincial Governor's residence to warn the 4 provinces to increase their vigilance. If the Turkic army wants to sneak into the Great Tang, it will most likely pass through these 4 provinces. On the other hand, just because we haven't heard of this Zhao Dian doesn't mean that the people in the Bing Province barracks haven't heard of him. Compared to our previous aimless search, we now have a clear target. As long as we find out who this Zhao Dian is, it will be much easier to find him. Moreover, I believe that there is one person who has definitely heard of Zhao Dian. Who is it? Hearing that, everyone in the room turned their gazes to Dugu Xian. Dugu Xian slowly said, the head of the Wang clan, Wang Yu. Lord Han's words are reasonable. In the secret room of Taiyuan Courier Station, Mo Chue couldn't help but nod. This is no longer just a matter of Yanhuang College. It concerns the dignity of the Great Tang and the safety of the hundreds of thousands of people in Taiyuan City. We must make plans as soon as possible. We must not only prevent the Turkic army from sneaking into the Great Tang, but we also need to capture this Zhao Dian as quickly as possible. Otherwise, if we allow this person to stir up trouble in the shadows, we will have no end of trouble. Dugu Xian was the highest military commander in charge of escorting the academy north, so he naturally had to complete the 2 missions Mo Chue had mentioned. He clasped his fist to Li Tai and sternly said, Your Highness, this general believes that we should immediately inform Governor Wang of this matter. The strength of the Imperial Army alone cannot guarantee the safety of the people of Taiyuan City, nor can we find the mastermind behind the scenes. We need to borrow the strength of the provincial governor's residence and the Bing province barracks. On the one hand, we need to dispatch people to Feng province, Xing province, Yun province, and Yuzhou, using the name of the provincial governor's residence to warn these 4 provinces to be more vigilant. This is because if the Turkic army wants to sneak into the Great Tang, it will most likely pass through these 4 provinces. On the other hand, just because we haven't heard of this Zhao Dian doesn't mean that the people in the Bing province barracks haven't heard of him. Compared to our previous aimless search, at least we now have a clear target. As long as we find out who this Zhao Dian is, it will be much easier to find him. Moreover, I believe that there is one person who has definitely heard of Zhao Dian. Who is it? Hearing that, everyone in the room turned their gazes to Dugu Xian. Dugu Xian slowly said, "The head of the Wang clan, Wang Yu." Lord Han's words are reasonable. In the secret room of Taiyuan Courier Station, Mo Chue couldn't help but nod. This is no longer just a matter of Yanhuang College. It concerns the dignity of the Great Tang and the safety of the hundreds of thousands of people in Taiyuan City. We must make plans as soon as possible. We must not only prevent the Turkic army from sneaking into the Great Tang, but we also need to capture this Zhao Dian in the city as quickly as possible. Otherwise, if we allow this person to stir up trouble in the shadows, there will be no end of trouble. Dugu Xian was the highest military commander in charge of escorting the academy north, so he naturally had to complete the 2 missions Mo Chue had mentioned. He clasped his fist to Li Tai and sternly said, "Your Highness, this general believes that we should immediately inform Provincial Governor Wang of this matter. The strength of the Imperial Army alone cannot guarantee the safety of the people of Taiyuan City, nor can we find the mastermind behind the scenes. We need to borrow the strength of the Provincial Governor's residence and the Bing province barracks. On the one hand, we need to dispatch people to Feng province, Xing province, Yun province, and Yuzhou, using the name of the provincial governor's residence to warn these 4 provinces to be more vigilant. This is because if the Turkic army wants to sneak into the Great Tang, it will most likely pass through these 4 provinces. On the other hand, just because we haven't heard of this Zhao Dian doesn't mean that the people in the Bing province barracks haven't heard of him. Compared to our previous aimless search, at least we now have a clear target. As long as we find out who this Zhao Dian is, it will be much easier to find him. Moreover, I believe that there is one person who has definitely heard of Zhao Dian. Who is it? Hearing that, everyone in the room turned their gazes to Dugu Xian. Dugu Xian slowly said, "The head of the Wang clan, Wang Yu." Chapter 1909. Father, since you've come to Taiyuan City, why don't you stay here for a while? After a short discussion, Li Tai went to his room to send a message. Dugu Xian took a carriage and a group of guards to the Wang family's ancestral home. Mo Chue followed the original plan and bought supplies for the students on Dragon Mountain with the academy's teachers. Iron Egg had nothing to do for the time being. In other words, everyone deliberately left space for the father and son to reunite. When Iron Egg saw Han Lijing come to the courier station, he was naturally very happy. However, when Han Lijing arrived at the courier station, everyone began to discuss. Until now, the father and son had not had time to say a word. Now that they finally had a moment of leisure, Iron Egg followed Han Lijing to a large ginkgo tree in the courtyard. Then he opened his mouth and asked casually. Speaking of which, it had not been long since the father and son last met. More than a month ago, Li Zishuan led the Sky Rooster Brigade to the north to exterminate the locusts. They passed by Yifang County, where Han Lijing lived. At that time, the father and son were reunited for a few days. Although they had just reunited more than a month ago, Iron Egg was still somewhat dissatisfied. This was because the father and son of other families could reunite almost every day. He really did not understand why his father did not stay at home and had to go to Yifeng County, which was so far away, to buy a manor and become a landlord. This child's thoughts could not be blamed. After all, he had lost his mother when he was young. His father was often away at war, and he relied on his sister's efforts to raise him. Later, when Han Lijing returned to the Han family manor, their family's life gradually improved. Although they could not be said to be rich, at least the family was reunited. Later, Han Yushi married into the Li family, and Han Lijing went to Yifeng County to buy a manor and become a landlord. For Iron Egg, the two people he relied on the most in his life gradually distanced from him. This made him feel as if he had suddenly become a loner. This kind of separation was too cruel for a youth who had not yet reached the age of 20. Yes. Hearing his son's question, Han Lijing nodded. Then he sighed and said, "Your father originally planned to return after delivering the secret letter to His Highness. However, from what you said just now, Taiyuan City is now extremely dangerous. You and King Wei both came to Taiyuan with important tasks. Those enemies are all watching you covetously from the shadows. If your father did not know this, then it would be fine. But now that I know, how can I leave with peace of mind? Before you find the power behind the scenes, or you can safely leave Taiyuan City, this old man will stay with you in this courier station." Before receiving the secret letter, Han Lijing had never imagined that Iron Egg would be in Taiyuan with Li Tai and the others on important matters, nor would he have imagined that they would be facing a crisis of life and death. At this moment, Han Lijing only rejoiced that he had unexpectedly obtained the secret letter to the steppe. Otherwise, he might not have received any news of Iron Egg's death. In addition, Han Lijing had accompanied Qin Qiong to the north to attack the Turk. As a veteran of hundreds of battles, he naturally knew martial arts. Although his martial arts were not as freakish as Li Zixuan's, he was still stronger than the majority of the estate soldiers. Otherwise, he would not have become Qin Qiong's personal guard. Now that he knew that his son was in danger, Han Lijing naturally had to stay behind to protect Iron Egg. Hearing that, Bruiser could not hide his excitement and said, "Great, great! I will go and help you tidy up a room." After saying that, Iron Egg immediately turned around and prepared to tidy up the room. However, he was stopped by Han Lijing. Han Lijing said, "This is not urgent. We have to prepare first. When your highness goes to the provincial governor's mansion, we will follow you." Okay. Tai Dan recovered from his excitement and quickly nodded his head in agreement. Looking at the boy in front of him who was already as tall as his chest, Han Lijing felt a little emotional. His heart was very complicated. He felt gratified and a little guilty. After staring at him for a while, Han Lijing said, "Iron Egg, I am very gratified that you can represent the academy and serve the country. You have grown up, indeed. In the past, Iron Egg was just a little boy in the Han village who often played with mud and crickets in the fields with a group of naughty children. Now, only a little more than a year had passed. Not only did he become the disciple of a famous teacher, but he also made great achievements in his studies. Now, he represented Yanhuang College and went to Taiyuan to build a telegraph relay station for the Tang Empire. Although he was not a pillar of the country, he was still a useful person to the country. How could Han Lijing not be gratified by such a big change? However, at the same time, Han Lijing also felt a little guilty. Because he had moved to Yifeng County at the beginning of the year, the father and son had been apart for more than half a year. To a certain extent, he had not fulfilled his responsibility as a father. To be able to receive his father's praise, Tai Dan would be lying if he said that he wasn't happy. However, he didn't get carried away and said modestly, "Father, this is nothing. Actually, my sister and I have always hoped that you would move back to the Han family manor." Obviously, this last sentence was what Iron Egg wanted to say the most. Han Lijing was stunned and his eyes were a little dazed. After a while, he patted Iron Egg's shoulder and said, Brat, how could I not want to move back to the Han village? It's just that the matter in Willow Village is not completely finished. The sewage discharged from Xiaoshuan's mine still affects the surrounding villages. After I have completely treated the sewage there according to Xiaoshuan's method, I will move back to the Han village. In fact, when Han Lijing went to Yifang County to buy property, other than to treat the polluted water of the surrounding villages because of Li Zishuan's mine, there was another important reason. It was to guard the graves of his comrades who had died in battle. 50 miles north of Yifang County, at the foot of White Mountain, there was a graveyard for thousands of people. Buried there were all heroes who died in battle during the 4 years of Wu De when Li Shimin led the army to attack the Turks in the north. Although Han Lijing had left the army long ago, he could never give up the brotherhood deep in his heart. Father, is what you said true? After hearing that Han Lijing would move back to Lantian County after treating the sewage around the mine, Iron Egg was overjoyed. He looked up at Han Lijing and asked, "Of course it's true." Han Lijing sighed in his heart and then said, "All right, brat. Now is not the time to reminisce. His Highness should be done sending the telegram soon. Go pack up and get ready. Also, see if General Feiying needs any help. We should set off in a while." "Yes, Father," Iron Egg replied and happily turned to leave. Although the current situation in Taiyuan City was unclear, and they did not know how many dangers were hidden around them, this did not stop Iron Egg from feeling happy at this moment. Chapter 1910. While Li Tai was sending an emergency telegram to Chang'an, the provincial governor's manor in Taiyuan City was busy. Dugu Xian had sent someone to borrow a painter from the provincial governor's manor, saying that he wanted to draw an assassin's face. Then, the provincial governor's manor's bailiffs would post it all over the city, offering a huge reward for information on the assassin. At this moment, the provincial governor's manor had not only obtained the assassin's portrait, but it had also been copied. Under Wang Liaoyuan's orders, the bailiffs of the provincial governor's manor all rushed out, carrying the portrait and the reward notice to the various key junctions in the city. Taiyuan City was now completely sealed off, and most of the soldiers from the subjugation manor in Bing Province had been sent to patrol the streets and search for suspicious people. After the initial panic of the city being sealed off, the lives of the hundreds of thousands of people in the city had gradually returned to normal. Other than being unable to leave the city, the people were basically able to leave their homes. After all, under the thorough search by the soldiers of the Bing Province barracks, most of the suspicious people who used the Chuji ironware shop to forge weapons had already been caught. The provincial governor's manor is offering a huge reward. If anyone knows the identity of the person in the portrait or has seen this person before, hurry to the provincial governor's manor and explain the situation. Anyone who provides useful information will be rewarded with 100 strings of cash. Commoners in 2s and 3s on the streets quickly noticed the portraits and bounty notices pasted on the walls. Then, they couldn't help but discuss in private. As long as you provide clues, you can get 100 strings of cash? What is the background of the person in the portrait? TSK. Who knows? But this person looks fierce and has such a long scar on his face. I don't think he's a good person. Yes. This person doesn't look like a good person. Do you think this person is the assassin that the soldiers are searching for in the city today? Oh, that's possible. Assassinating His Highness King Wei's guard, and that guard is said to be the commander of the Imperial Army. This person is too bold. These people really deserve to die. Why would they dare to harm His Highness King Wei when they can live in peace? They even caused Taiyuan City to be under martial law, and now they can't even leave the city. That's right. These people really deserve to die. Have any of you seen this person before? Hurry up and provide clues to the authorities. The sooner they catch these people, the sooner the better. Even if there's no reward. Taiyuan City can be peaceful and quiet soon. That's right. Have any of you seen this person before? While Li Tai was in the provincial governor's manor in Taiyuan City, the provincial governor's manor in Taiyuan City wasn't idle. Previously, Dugu Xin had sent someone to borrow a painter from the provincial governor's office, saying that he wanted to draw the appearance of an assassin. Then, the provincial governor's office's bailiffs would post it throughout the city, offering a large reward for clues about the assassin. At this moment, the provincial governor's manor had not only obtained the portrait of the assassin, but they had also finished copying it. Under Wang Liaoyuan's orders, the provincial governor's manor rushed out with the portrait and the reward notice. Taiyuan City was now under lockdown, and most of the soldiers from the manor of subjugation in Bing Province were sent to patrol the streets and search for suspicious people. After the initial panic of the lockdown, the lives of the hundreds of thousands of people in the city gradually returned to normal. Other than those who couldn't leave the city, most of the people were able to leave their homes. After all, the soldiers from the Bing Province barracks had already caught most of the suspicious people who used the Chuji ironware shop to forge weapons. The provincial governor's manor is offering a huge reward for anyone who knows the identity of the person in the portrait or has seen this person before. Go to the provincial governor's manor as soon as possible to explain the situation. Those who provide useful clues will be rewarded with 100 strings of cash. Commoners in 2s and 3s on the streets quickly noticed the portraits and bounty notices pasted on the walls. Then, they couldn't help but discuss in private. As long as you provide clues, you can get 100 strings of cash? What is the background of the person in the portrait? Tisk tsk. Who knows? But this person looks fierce and has such a long scar on his face. I don't think he's a good person. Yes. This person doesn't look like a good person. Eh? Do you think this person is the assassin that the soldiers are searching for in the city today? That's possible. Assassinating His Highness Prince of Wei's bodyguard, and that bodyguard is said to be the commander of the Imperial Army. This guy is too bold. These people deserve to die. Why would they dare to harm His Highness Prince of Wei if they don't want to live a peaceful life? They even caused Taiyuan City to be under martial law. Now we can't even leave the city. Yes, these people deserve to die. Have any of you seen this person before? Go and provide clues to the authorities. The sooner we catch these people, the sooner we can. Even if there's no reward, it's fine. Taiyuan City can also be peaceful as soon as possible. Yes. Have any of you seen this person before? While Li Tai was sending an emergency telegram to Chang'an City, the provincial governor's mansion in Taiyuan City was not idle either. Dugu Xin had sent someone to borrow a painter from the provincial governor's mansion. He said that he wanted to draw the assassin's face and have the bailiffs of the provincial governor's mansion post it all over the city, offering a huge reward for clues about the assassin. At this time, the provincial governor's mansion had not only obtained the assassin's portrait, but they had also finished copying it. Under Wang Liaoyuan's orders, the bailiffs of the provincial governor's mansion came out together, holding the portrait and the reward notice, and rushed to the various key junctions in the city. Currently, Taiyuan City was completely sealed off. Most of the soldiers from Bing Province's Zhechong Manor were sent to patrol the streets and search for suspicious people. After experiencing the initial panic of the city being sealed off, the lives of the hundreds of thousands of civilians in the city gradually returned to normal. Except for those who couldn't leave the city, the civilians were basically able to leave their homes. After all, under the thorough search of the soldiers from Bing Province's barracks, most of the suspicious people who owned Chuji ironware shop had been caught. The provincial governor's mansion is offering a huge reward. If anyone knows the identity of the person in the portrait or has seen this person before, go to the provincial governor's mansion as soon as possible to explain the situation. For those who provide useful clues, the provincial governor's mansion will reward them with 100 strings of cash. The people on the streets in twos and threes quickly noticed the portrait and the reward notice on the wall. Then, they could not help but discuss in private. As long as you provide clues, you can get 100 strings of cash? What is the background of the person in the portrait? TSK. Who knows? But this person looks fierce and has such a long scar on his face. I think he's not a good person. Yes. This person doesn't look like a good person. Do you think this person is the assassin that the soldiers are searching for in the city today? Wow. It's possible. Assassinating His Royal Highness Prince Wei's bodyguard, and that bodyguard is said to be the commander of the Imperial Army. This guy is too bold. These people deserve to die. How could he dare to harm His Highness, Prince of Wei, if he did not want to live a peaceful life? They even caused Taiyuan City to be under martial law. Now they can't even leave the city. That's right. These people deserve to die. Have any of you seen this person before? Quickly go and provide clues to the authorities. The sooner they catch these people, the sooner they'll be rewarded. Taiyuan City will be able to enjoy peace and quiet as soon as possible. That's right. Have any of you seen this person before? While Li Tai was in the courier station sending an urgent telegram to Chang'an City, the provincial governor's mansion in Taiyuan City was not idle at the moment. Previously, Dugu Xin had sent someone to borrow a painter from the provincial governor's mansion, saying that he wanted to draw the appearance of an assassin. Then, the provincial governor's mansion's bailiffs would post it throughout the city, offering a large reward for clues to the assassin. At this moment, the provincial governor's mansion had not only obtained the assassin's portrait, but also finished copying it. Under Wang Liaoyuan's orders, the bailiffs of the provincial governor's mansion all rushed out, carrying the portrait and the reward notice to the various key junctions in the city. Currently, Taiyuan City was completely sealed off. Most of the soldiers from Bing Province's Zhechong Manor were sent to patrol the streets and search for suspicious people. After experiencing the initial panic of the city being sealed off, the lives of the hundreds of thousands of civilians in the city gradually returned to normal. Except for those who couldn't leave the city, the civilians were basically able to leave their homes. After all, under the thorough search of the soldiers from Bing Province's barracks, most of the suspicious people who owned Chuji Ironware Shop had been caught. The provincial governor's mansion is offering a large reward for anyone who knows the identity of the person in the portrait or has seen this person before. Hurry to the provincial governor's mansion and explain the situation. For those who provide useful clues, the provincial governor's mansion will reward them with 100 strings of cash. Commoners in twos and threes on the streets quickly noticed the portraits and bounty notices pasted on the walls. Then, they couldn't help but discuss in private. As long as you provide clues, you can get 100 strings of cash? What is the background of the person in the portrait? TSK. Who knows? But this person looks fierce and has such a long scar on his face. I don't think he's a good person. Yes. This person doesn't look like a good person at first glance. Do you think this person is the assassin that the soldiers are searching for in the city today? Whoa. That's possible. Assassinating His Highness King Wei's guard, and that guard is said to be the commander of the Imperial Army. This person is too bold. These people really deserve to die. Why would they dare to harm His Highness King Wei when they have such peaceful days? They even caused Taiyuan City to be under martial law. Now they can't even leave the city. That's right. These people really deserve to die. Have any of you seen this person before? Hurry up and provide clues to the authorities. The sooner they catch these people, the sooner they'll be rewarded. Taiyuan City will be able to enjoy peace and quiet as soon as possible. That's right. Have any of you seen this person before? While Li Tai was sending an urgent telegram to Chang'an City, the provincial governor's mansion in Taiyuan City was not idle. Previously, Dugu Xian had sent someone to borrow an artist from the provincial governor's mansion. He said that he wanted to draw the appearance of an assassin, and then the provincial governor's mansion's bailiffs would post it all over the city, offering a large reward for clues to the assassin. At this moment, the provincial governor's mansion had not only obtained the assassin's portrait, but had also finished copying it. Under Wang Liaoyuan's orders, the bailiffs of the provincial governor's mansion rushed out, carrying the portrait and the reward notice to the various key junctions in the city. Currently, Taiyuan City was completely sealed off. Most of the soldiers from Bing Province's Zhechong Manor were sent to patrol the streets and search for suspicious people. After experiencing the initial panic of the city being sealed off, the lives of the hundreds of thousands of civilians in the city gradually returned to normal. Except for those who couldn't leave the city, the civilians were basically able to leave their homes. After all, under the thorough search of the soldiers from Bing Province's barracks, most of the suspicious people who owned Chuji Ironware Shop had been caught. The provincial governor's mansion is offering a large reward for anyone who knows the identity of the person in the portrait or has seen this person before. Hurry up and report the situation to the provincial governor's mansion. Anyone who provides useful clues will be rewarded with 100 strings of cash. Commoners in 2s and 3s on the streets quickly noticed the portraits and bounty notices pasted on the walls. Then, they couldn't help but discuss in private. As long as you provide clues, you can get 100 strings of cash? What is the background of the person in the portrait? Tisk tsk. Who knows? But this person looks fierce and has such a long scar on his face. I don't think he's a good person. Yes. This person doesn't look like a good person at first glance. Do you think this person is the assassin that the soldiers are searching for in the city today? That's possible. Assassinating the bodyguard of His Royal Highness Prince Wei, and that bodyguard is said to be the commander of the Imperial Army. This guy is too bold. These people deserve to die. How could he dare to harm His Highness, Prince of Wei, if he did not want to live a peaceful life? They even caused Taiyuan City to be under martial law. Now they can't even leave the city. That's right. These people deserve to die. Have any of you seen this person before? Hurry up and provide clues to the authorities. The sooner they catch these people, the sooner they'll be rewarded. Taiyuan City can also be peaceful as soon as possible. That's right. Have any of you seen this person before? While Li Tai was sending an emergency telegram to Chang'an City, the provincial governor's mansion in Taiyuan City was not idle. Dugu Xian had sent someone to borrow a painter from the provincial governor's mansion. He said that he wanted to draw the face of an assassin, and then the provincial governor's mansion's bailiffs would post it all over the city, offering a large reward for clues to the assassin. At this time, the provincial governor's mansion had not only obtained the assassin's portrait, but it had also been copied. Under Wang Liaoyuan's orders, the bailiffs of the provincial governor's mansion came out together, holding the portrait and the reward notice, and rushed to every key intersection in the city. Currently, Taiyuan City was completely sealed off. Most of the soldiers from Bing Province's Zhechong Manor were sent to patrol the streets and search for suspicious people. After experiencing the initial panic of the city being sealed off, the lives of the hundreds of thousands of civilians in the city gradually returned to normal. Except for those who couldn't leave the city, the civilians were basically able to leave their homes. After all, under the thorough search of the soldiers from Bing Province's barracks, most of the suspicious people who owned Chuji Ironware Shop had been caught. The provincial governor's mansion is offering a large reward. If anyone knows the identity of the person in the portrait or has seen this person before, go to the provincial governor's mansion as soon as possible to explain the situation. For those who provide useful clues, the provincial governor's mansion will reward them with 100 strings of cash. The people on the streets in twos and threes quickly noticed the portrait and the reward notice pasted on the wall. Then, they could not help but discuss in private. As long as you provide clues, you can get 100 strings of cash? What is the background of the person in the portrait? Tisk tsk. Who knows? But this person looks fierce and has such a long scar on his face. I don't think he's a good person. That's right. This person doesn't look like a good person. Eh? Do you think this person is the assassin that the soldiers are searching for in the city today? Whoa. That's possible. Assassinating His Highness King Wei's guard, and that guard is said to be the commander of the Imperial Army. This person is too bold. These people really deserve to die. Why would they dare to harm His Highness King Wei when they can live in peace? They even caused Taiyuan City to be under martial law. Now we can't even leave the city. That's right. These people really deserve to die. Have any of you seen this person before? Quickly go and provide clues to the authorities. The sooner we catch these people, the sooner we can do it, even if there's no reward. Our Taiyuan city can also be peaceful and quiet soon. That's right. Have any of you seen this person before? Chapter 1911. If grandfather is still worried, I can send someone to secretly hire some people in the marketplace and have them provide false information about Xinglong to the magistrate. I guarantee that the people in the provincial governor's office will be so busy that they won't have time to care about anything else. In the wing room in the backyard of the second branch of the Wang family, Wang Xinyuan saw that Wang Kuei was still worried, so he suggested. When Wang Kuei heard this, he shook his head and refused without thinking. No. At this time, we can't cause any more trouble. The more we do, the more likely it is that we will be discovered by the magistrate. You'd better behave yourself. Without my permission, you're not allowed to act on your own. Wang Kuei was actually very afraid that Wang Xinyuan would do something like he did in the afternoon and cause trouble without saying a word. This would put him in a very passive position. Unlike Wang Xinyuan's radicalism, Wang Kuei was quite cautious and conservative. Before he had absolute confidence, he would not expose himself in front of others. Before Wang Xinyuan came, Wang Li had already been here. Furthermore, he had been severely reprimanded by Wang Yu. He had also warned Wang Li not to cooperate with Wang Xinyuan's unauthorized actions. In this way, he had also taken away Wang Xinyuan's military power in disguise. Yes, grandson will follow grandfather's instructions. Wang Xinyuan knew that it was not the right time to fall out with Wang Kuei, so he pretended to be obedient and cupped his hands. But grandfather, please take care of Xinglong's family and ensure that his family won't report to the magistrate. Suddenly, Wang Xinyuan's eyes flashed. He stood up and looked at Wang Kuei. Humph, I have my own plans. You don't have to worry about this matter. You can go back first. Wang Kuei frowned and waved his hand. Grandson will take his leave. Wang Xinyuan seemed to want to say something, but he hesitated for a moment and did not say anything. He cupped his hands and left. Wang Kuei, who was in the room, looked at Wang Xinyuan's back as he left. He was both angry and helpless. Now, seeing that the government was about to investigate him step by step, he really began to regret listening to Wang Xinyuan's bewitchment. Wasn't it good to be the second elder of the Wang family who lived in luxury every day and didn't have to worry about food and drink? Why did he have to take the risk of risking his life? It's all because of human greed. Wang Kuei sighed in his heart for a while before shouting outside, Wang Li! Creak! As soon as Wang Kuei finished speaking, the door was pushed open from the outside. Wang Li walked in and cupped his fist. Your subordinate is here. Wang Kai's face was cold as he said in a deep voice, After dark, you go to the Triumph House and quietly get rid of that old man. Do it cleanly. This old man doesn't want anyone to notice. Do you understand? Wang Li's body trembled as a trace of surprise flashed across his face. However, he quickly returned to normal and cupped his fist. I understand. Then, seeing that Wang Kuei had no other instructions, he cupped his hands and left. The room was silent for a long time before Wang Kuei muttered to himself, Star Wolf, don't blame me. It's not that I'm heartless, but only the dead can keep secrets. Master, are you looking for me? Wang Qingwu knocked on the door of the study in the backyard of the Wang family's main house. He pushed the door open and entered. He bowed and cupped his fists towards Wang Yu, who was sitting behind the desk. Yes. Wang Yu put down the reward notice in his hand, looked up at Wang Qingwu and asked, Qingwu, is there any movement from the second branch? Previously, when he suspected that Wang Li and Wang Kuei were likely to be related to the fire in the south of the city at noon, Wang Yu sent Wang Qingwu to keep a close eye on the second branch and monitor their every move. Now that the portrait of Star Wolf and the reward notice were all in the hands of the Wang family's servants, Wang Yu guessed that Wang Kuei would definitely take action after seeing the reward notice, so he called Wang Qingwu over to ask about it. Hearing this, Wang Qingwu thought for a moment, then cupped his fists and said, Reporting to the Patriarch, according to the informant I placed in the second branch, the second elder didn't do anything after seeing the reward notice, but he asked Wang Xinyuan to go to the side room in the backyard. After a while, Wang Xinyuan left again. As for what the two of them said in the side room, because there were guards outside the room, our people didn't dare to get too close, so we didn't hear clearly. Wang Yu's eyes flashed, and after a moment of thought, he said, Continue to monitor the second elder, Wang Xinyuan and Wang Li closely. If there are any abnormal movements, immediately report to me. If they leave the residence, you must send someone to follow them closely, but be careful not to be discovered by them. Wang Qingwu bowed and said, This subordinate understands. Master, don't worry. If necessary, this subordinate will personally follow them. Speaking of which, no matter what, Wang Li was still a Zhongshe realm expert. If he wanted to follow him silently, the person following him would have to be at least stronger than him. Among all the secret guards of the Wang family, only Wang Qingwu was qualified to do so. Wang Yu nodded slightly and said, Yes, you may go. Wang Qingwu replied, cupped his fists, and left. Not long after Wang Qingwu left, the door of the study was pushed open from the outside again. Wang Yu looked up and saw that it was Wang Bing, and behind Wang Bing was Princess Tang and Father, Madam, why are you here? Wang Yu hurriedly stood up when he saw the person who had arrived and greeted him. After the two entered, Princess Tang unturned and closed the door. At this moment, Wang Bing took out a piece of paper from his bosom. It was the bounty notice that everyone in the Wang family had passed around. He looked at Wang Yu and asked solemnly, who is this person? Why are you mobilizing everyone in the Wang family to find him? Did something happen in Taiyuan City again? In truth, Wang Yu had not mentioned to Wang Bing or Princess Tang, and that an assassin had attacked an imperial army convoy and been captured alive at noon today. The main reason was that he had rashly spied on Wang Kuei without any evidence. This matter did not conform to the Wang family's rules, and Wang Bing might not agree to it. Thus, Wang Yu had decided to act first and report later. But unexpectedly, Wang Bing's political sense was far sharper than Wang Yu had imagined. With just a single bounty notice, he had sensed that something was wrong. It had to be said that the older the ginger, the spicier it was. Chapter 1912. Chang'an, Imperial Astronomer. Beep 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 beep. There's a telegram. The other two eunuchs in the room also looked over. The telegram machine was not widely available, and there were only a few people in the entire Tang Empire who owned one. Therefore, the person who sent the telegram to the palace was either Li Zixuan or Li Tai. Li Zixuan was currently in the military camp. If there was anything, He could have just sent someone to the palace to pass the message or enter the palace personally. There was no need for him to send a telegram. Therefore, the person who sent the telegram could only be Li Tai. Quick, come and help translate the message. All right. The two of them replied and quickly went forward to translate the message with the eunuchs. Moments later, the expressions of the three people in the room changed. The eunuchs who first recorded the message stood up and said, Taiyuan is in danger. You guys wait here. I have to present this telegram to His Majesty immediately. Yes. The two of them cupped their fists and accepted the order. The eunuchs kept the translated message and rushed out of the room. In the Sweet Dew Hall, Li Er and Zhao Song were talking about the martial arts competition in the Black Armored Army the next day. The rules set by this kid are quite interesting. After the morning court tomorrow, I'll make a trip to the Black Armored Army's camp to join in the fun and see the results of the Black Armored Army's training under this kid's new training manual. Li Er looked at the small booklet in his hand and smiled meaningfully. He then said to Zhao Song, who was beside him, Do you want me to inform General Duan beforehand? Upon hearing this, Zhao Song was not surprised by Li Er's decision at all. He asked tentatively, There's no need for that. Li Er shook his head and said, It's just the two of us. We can just change into casual clothes and go. It will also save us a lot of trouble. Although the world could not be said to be at peace, the great Tang had been at peace for a very long time. At the end of the 4th month, after Shuafang City was breached by the Tang army and Liang Shi was beheaded, Li Er had eliminated all the rebel forces in the Tang Empire. As the capital of the empire, Chang'an was much safer than other places in the Tang Empire. Therefore, Li Er was not worried that he would encounter any assassins when he left the palace in disguise. Unlike the other, pampered, emperors who grew up in the palace, Li Er had done this kind of thing many times before. Yes, Your Majesty. Hearing this, Zhao Song hesitated. He wanted to say a few words of advice, but after being by Li Er's side for so many years, he knew Li Er's temper very well. Therefore, he swallowed the words that were already at the tip of his tongue and changed his tone. However, he was secretly pondering in his heart. No matter what happened tomorrow, he had to arrange for some experts to secretly follow them. Otherwise, if something happened to Li Er, he would die 1,000 deaths. Your Majesty! Your Majesty! Prince Wei's palace has sent an urgent report. Just as Zhao Song finished speaking, a chamberlain hurriedly ran in from outside. After entering the hall, the chamberlain bowed to Li Er with a piece of paper in his hands. Before this, Li Er had instructed the Imperial Army soldiers outside the Taiji Palace to report to the Imperial Astronomer if there were any urgent matters. They could directly enter Ganlu Palace without any notice. What? Green Sparrow urgent report? Quickly present it. Li Er, who was sitting at the head of the table, was shocked when he heard this and hurriedly said. Zhao Song's expression also became serious. He quickly walked in front of the chamberlain, took the paper from the chamberlain's hands, and then quickly handed it to Li Er. Li Er did not waste any time. After receiving the report, he immediately opened it and read it carefully. On it was written, Your son, Green Sparrow, reports to Imperial Father. Today, your son suddenly received news that there is a group of Turkic spies hiding in Taiji City. The leader is a Han man named Zhao Dian, formerly the village head of the Han family manor, Han Tianhu. This morning, we accidentally intercepted a letter that this person sent to the grasslands. This telegram was not long, but it was not short either. It was more than 300 words long. The main reason was that this matter was too important and too complicated. It could not be explained in a few words. If it was not explained clearly, it could easily affect Li Er's judgment and decision-making. When the time came, it was very likely that one careless move would cause the entire game to be lost. Therefore, Li Tai used as concise words as he could to tell Li Er everything that had happened that afternoon, including how Tai Dan had disguised himself as him to escort a batch of fake goods to Longshan and how he had been ambushed in the south of the city. Li Tai also told him about how Tai Dan had disguised himself as him and escorted a batch of fake goods to Longshan. However, Li Tai did not mention Dugu Xian's conjectures about the Wang clan in this telegram. The main reason was that they had no proof at the moment. It would be rather inappropriate to rashly mention them. The telegram of more than 300 words took a very long time to translate, but it seemed that he could finish reading it in a few moments. After reading the telegram, Li Er's brow was tightly furrowed, his face dark. When he received the news that Dugu Xian had been assassinated in Taiji City this morning, he had suspected that it might be the work of a Turkic spy. But he had never imagined that the assassin hiding in Taiji City would be so bold as to have Xieli lead his troops into the Great Tang and then work together to take down Taiji and capture Li Tai alive. The other party's ambition was simply too great. And just where did this Zhao Dian come from? As a Han, not only was he working for the Turks, he was also in contact with the Great Khan of the Turks? And why was this person so familiar with the mission that Li Tai's party had taken north to Taiji, and why was he so familiar with the functions of the telegram relay station? These were top secrets of Yen Wang College. Let alone a Turkic spy, even many officials in the imperial court did not know about the mission of the college and the specific functions of the telegram relay station. How did this Zhao Dian know? At this moment, many thoughts flashed through Li Er's mind, but most of them were shock and fear. Just think, if Han Lijing had not been able to intercept Zhao Dian's messenger pigeon, Li Tai, Dugu Xian, and the others in Taiji City would not have known who their opponents were until the Turkic wolf cavalry arrived at the city gates. How could they have prepared in advance? Quickly send a message to Qinke and order Bingzhou Governor Wang Liaoyuan to send a warning document to Feng Province, Xing Province, Yunzhou, and Yuzhou at the speed of 800 li. Remind the governors of these four provinces to strengthen the defense of the border passes and not allow a single Turk to enter the Great Tang. Violators will be punished by military law. Forcefully suppressing the questions in his mind, Li Er put down the message in his hand and looked up at the Chamberlain as he sternly ordered. As the Chamberlain quickly recorded Li Er's words, he bowed and said, "This servant obeys the decree. In addition, order Bingzhou's Zhenchong Prefecture to protect Qinke and the teachers and students of Yanwang College at all costs. In addition, for the safety of Taiji City, order Bingzhou Governor Wang Liaoyuan to find out Zhao Dian's identity within 3 days and arrest him." Li Er thought for a moment and added, "This servant obeys the decree." The Chamberlain's pen flew through the air as he quickly recorded Li Er's words on the book in his hand. He bowed and replied, "Go." Li Er thought for a moment and had no other orders, so he waved his hand for the Chamberlain to leave. The Chamberlain bowed and then left Sweet Dew Palace. Zhao Song stood to the left of Li Er. From start to finish, he did not ask what was written on the telegram. Even though he was extremely curious, he understood that if Li Er wanted him to know, there was no need for him to ask. Li Er would tell him directly. On the contrary, if Li Er did not want him to know, even if he asked, Li Er would not tell him. On the contrary, he might even punish him. At this moment, Li Er picked up the telegram and passed it to Zhao Song. "Zhao Song, go and check if there is a Han high-ranking official named Zhao Dian under Xieli's tent. This is a telegram from Qinke. Take a look." Zhao Song received the telegram with both hands and bowed. This old servant obeys the decree. Before he could flip through the telegram, Li Er spoke again. "Has Li Junxian and the rest arrived at Taiyuan City?" Zhao Song clasped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, half an hour ago, this old servant received a message from Commander Li. He said that he had arrived at Taiyuan City in the morning and discovered that there was a hidden faction in Taiyuan City secretly monitoring Your Highness and the rest. He is currently hiding in the dark to make it easier to find out the background of this faction. Thus, he did not appear to meet Your Highness. Instead, he has been hiding in the dark to protect Your Highness. Hearing this, Li Er felt much more at ease. He nodded and said, Li Juanxian's work is truly reassuring. It is easy to dodge a spear in the open but difficult to defend against a hidden arrow. Let him hide in the dark. At this point, Li Er suddenly frowned. He suddenly remembered that Li Juanxian's method of communication was actually through a messenger pigeon. After experiencing the convenience of the telegraph, the messenger pigeon was already a backward method of communication in Li Er's eyes. After all, how could a messenger pigeon be faster than a telegram, electromagnetic wave? It was a pity that none of the 100 horsemen knew how to use a telegraph. Otherwise, he could have given the 100 horsemen a few telegraph machines so that Li Juanxian could report the situation in Taiyuan City to him at any time. Your Majesty is right, Zhao Song replied. After a moment of silence, Li Er suddenly said, Don't let the Empress know about this for now. Otherwise, she'll be so worried that she'll have nightmares all night. Speaking of nightmares, Li Er couldn't help but recall the dream that Empress Zhongsun had described to him. Reality seemed to be reflecting that dream. There was a group of Han people in Taiyuan City who had sided with the Turks, and they were planning to harm Li Tai and the rest. Then, would Li Tai and the rest be captured by that group of people? They won't. We will never let those rascals succeed, Li Er said firmly in his mind. This old servant understands, Zhao Song responded. Li Er waved his hand at him and said, Go ahead. Help us find out Zhao Dian's identity as quickly as possible. Yes. Zhao Song bowed and accepted the order. Hugging the report from Li Tai, he walked out of the hall. Chapter 1913. General, your subordinate has already found the identity of the owner of Tongfu Inn. In a residence near Tongfu Inn in Taiyuan City, a muscular man dressed in casual clothes clasped his fist and bowed to Li Juanxian. This man was none other than the 100 horsemen Li Juanxian had sent to investigate Tongfu Inn, Lin Jiang. Li Juanxian's eyes flashed. Oh? Tell me. Lin Jiang straightened his body and said, General, the owner of Tongfu Inn is called Sun Dafu, a native of Taiyuan with no significant background. However, the owner behind the scenes of this Tongfu Inn had some background. Their owner's name was Gao Yong, and Gao Yong's sister had married the eldest son of the Wang family's second elder, Wang Hong. It could be said that he had a close relationship with the Wang family's second branch. It was precisely because of his relationship with the Wang family that Gao Yong had been able to thrive in Sourcepeak City these past few years. Apart from the Tongfu Inn, he also owned 2 silk shops and a jewelry and jade shop. His family's wealth was quite high. But it's rumored that Gao Yong has done quite a bit of bullying in Taiyuan City in the past few years, but he has quieted down a little in recent years. The owner of Tongfu Inn is actually related to the Wang clan's second branch? Li Juanxian was rather surprised, and a pensive look appeared on his face. Lin Jiang quietly stood there, waiting for Li Juanxian's next order. After a few moments of thought, Li Juanxian raised his head and said, Has Gao Yong had any contact with the Wang clan's second branch since Zhu Zeqing took up residence in Tongfu Inn? In truth, Li Juanxian had originally believed that the owner of Tongfu Inn was a Turkic spy planted in Taiyuan City. This was why Zhu Zeqing had known in advance that Li Tai's group would be staying at Tongfu Inn and had set up an ambush there. This was also why he had sent people to investigate Tongfu Inn. Now that he had learned that the owner of Tongfu Inn was inextricably linked to the Wang clan's second branch, the situation became rather complicated. Reporting to the general, this subordinate has already found out the identity of the owner behind this Tongfu Inn. In a residence near Tongfu Inn in Taiyuan City, a muscular man dressed in casual clothes clasped his fist and bowed to Li Junxian. This was the 100 horsemen Li Junxian had sent to investigate Tongfu Inn. His name was Lin Jiang. Li Junxian's eyes flashed. "Tell me about it." Lin Jiang straightened up and said, replying to the general, "The innkeeper of this Tongfu Inn is called Sun Dafu. He's a native of Taiyuan and doesn't have much of a background. However, the owner behind the scenes of this Tongfu Inn had some background. Their owner's name was Gao Yong, and Gao Yong's sister had married the eldest son of the Wang family's second elder, Wang Hong. It could be said that he had a close relationship with the Wang family's second branch. It was precisely because of the Wang family's relationship that Gao Yong had been able to thrive in Sorespeak City these past few years. Apart from the Tongfu Inn, he also had 2 silk shops and a jade shop in the city. His family was quite wealthy. However, according to the rumors, this Gao Yong has done a lot of things to bully men and seize women in Taiyuan City in the past few years. However, he has quieted down a little in recent years. The owner behind Tongfu Inn is actually related to the Wang family's second branch. Li Junxian was rather surprised, and a pensive look appeared on his face. Lin Jiang quietly stood there, waiting for Li Junxian's next order. After a few moments of thought, Li Junxian raised his head and said, "Ever since Zhu Zeqing took up residence at Tongfu Inn, has Gao Yong had any contact with the Wang family's second branch?" In truth, Li Junxian had originally believed that the owner of Tongfu Inn was a Turkic spy planted in Sorespeak City. This was why Zhu Zeqing had known in advance that Li Tai's group would be staying at Tongfu Inn and had set up an ambush there. Chapter 1914. It was 4:45 dusk. According to the weather of the past few days, the sky should be filled with red clouds, but today's weather was a little strange. At noon, the sun was still shining brightly, but at dusk, not only was there no sunset glow in the sky, it was also a little gloomy. Thick clouds covered the sky, giving people a very oppressive feeling. However, it did not seem like it was going to rain, because the clouds in the sky were not dark clouds. Generally speaking, the sky would only turn dark at around 7 in this season, but today's abnormal weather caused Taiyuan City to become a little gloomy. At this moment, a group of people took advantage of the fact that the sky wasn't completely dark. They rode their horses from the post house towards the direction of the city. The people in the lead were a young man and a middle-aged man. Behind them was a group of powerful soldiers. In addition, there were 2 young men who were walking in the middle of the group. At this time, most of the people in the city had returned to their homes, so there were not many people on the street. Therefore, this group of people traveled very quickly. In about 15 minutes, they arrived at the provincial governor's mansion in the city. The group of people dismounted, and the slightly plump youth in the middle of the group walked to the front. After seeing this, the guards at the entrance of the provincial governor's mansion did not dare to stop them. Instead, they respectfully bowed and said, "Your Highness." That's right, this group was Li Tai, Dugu Feiying, Han Tianhu, and Iron Egg. In the past few days, Li Tai had had many dealings with the provincial governor's mansion, so it was not strange that the guards at the entrance knew Li Tai. "Is Provincial Governor Wang in the government office?" Li Tai did not beat around the bush and went straight to the point. "Your Highness, Provincial Governor Wang is in the back hall discussing matters with Adjunct Fong. I will go and report to you now." The guards at the entrance quickly cupped their fists and replied, "Oh? Adjunct Fong is also there? That's great." Hearing this, Li Tai muttered softly. Then he flicked his sleeves and said, "No need to report. We will go in ourselves." With that, he directly walked past the 2 guards at the entrance and into the courtyard. When Dugu Feiying, Han Tianhu, and Iron Egg saw this, they quickly followed. As for the 2 bailiffs, they could only watch as Li Tai and the others entered. Naturally, they did not dare to stop them. This general's men have already searched through all the houses in the city. Those who have weapons from the Chu ironware shop have all been brought to the magistrate's office. However, this general heard that the weapons in these people's hands were all made by the Chu ironware shop a long time ago. They are not the latest batch. Indeed. In the afternoon, this official ordered the blacksmiths of Chuji ironware shop to carefully identify the weapons that were confiscated. Unexpectedly, not a single one of them came from the batch of weapons that the mysterious person behind the scenes ordered. Now, it seems that it's impossible to use those weapons to track down the mysterious person behind the scenes. Then what should we do? Today we have searched the city wantonly. That mysterious person will definitely be alerted. It will be even more difficult to find him later. Moreover, sealing the city is not a solution. There are hundreds of thousands of people in Taiyuan City. The people need to eat and live. If the city is sealed for a long time, the people in the city will definitely panic. The daily lives of the people in the city will also be greatly affected. Sigh. How can this official not know what you are saying? His Majesty only gave us 7 days to close the case. This official is more anxious than anyone else. Provincial Governor Wang, there is no need to be anxious. This prince has come to give you a clue. When Li Tai walked near the back hall, he happened to hear Fang Gongting and Wang Liaoyuan discussing today's large-scale search. Hearing this, and seeing that the door was not closed, he directly lifted his feet and walked into the room. Your Highness? As there was no report, Wang Liaoyuan and Fang Gongting did not know that Li Tai had come to the provincial governor's mansion. When they saw Li Tai suddenly appear at the door, the two were shocked. Then they hurriedly greeted him and said, "This official, this general, pays his respects to your Highness." Chapter 1915. Xiaobao has come on master's orders to report to milords. My master and I have met the person the government is looking for today. In the rear hall of the government office, the young alchemist from Rejuvenation Hall cupped his hands to Wang Liaoyuan after greeting everyone in the room. Speaking of this little medicine boy, they had just seen him in the morning. He was the youth that Gong Sun Liang had brought with him when he came to the post-house to detoxify Dugu Exin. His name was Xiaobao, and he and Gong Sun Liang should have a master-disciple relationship. What? You've seen the person in the portrait? After Lil Bao finished speaking, the room was silent for a moment. Then, Li Tai said in surprise. Li Tai had wanted to personally interrogate the assassin he had captured in the afternoon after returning from Dragon Mountain, but on the way back, he had run into Han Tianhu, who had rushed over from Yifang County. Later on, he had seen the letter Zhao Dian had sent to the Turks via messenger pigeon. For the sake of the overall situation, Li Tai had no choice but to temporarily put aside the idea of personally interrogating the assassin. Instead, he had come to the provincial governor's residence to deliver Li Er's decree to Wang Liaoyuan and Fang Gongting. But putting it aside for now did not mean that he would completely let it go. Li Tai had always felt somewhat uneasy about this assassin. He had speculated that the assassin might have come from another faction in Taiyuan City, and that this faction might be in cahoots with Zhao Dian. Li Tai had not expected to find clues related to the assassin in the provincial governor's residence, so he was naturally overjoyed. Xiaobao also knew of Li Tai's identity. Upon hearing Li Tai's question, he turned and cupped his hands to Li Tai. Your Highness, my master once treated the mother of this person in the portrait. Starting from the beginning of last year, he would come to our rejuvenation hall every once in a while to get medicine. Although he sometimes did not go in person, it was still possible to tell from the prescription that he had asked someone else to get the medicine for him. Li Tai was delighted to hear this. He hurriedly asked, Your master treated this person's mother, so he should know this person's name and residence, right? Also, what illness does this person's mother suffer from? Why hasn't he been cured after taking medicine for more than a year? As long as the identity of this person was confirmed, then the power behind this person would be even easier to investigate, Li Tai thought to himself. However, to his disappointment, Xiao Bao shook his head and said, "This person doesn't like to talk. I remember that when this person carried his mother to the clinic, he only said 3 sentences to my master from beginning to end. Can you cure her? How much is the consultation fee? And thank you." My master said that the auntie was suffering from tuberculosis, which could not be cured. My master could only prescribe some medicine to nourish the lungs, clear away heat and consolidate qi to relieve the pain and temporarily prolong her life. Later on, I heard that before that person came to our Huichun Hall, he had already gone to several medical centers in the city, but no one dared to treat his mother. After thinking about it, it should be that the prescription my master gave was indeed useful to the auntie, so that person would come to our clinic every once in a while or invite other people to come and get the medicine. However, every time he came, he would leave in a hurry after getting the medicine and paying the fee. No one knew what his name was or where he lived. Li Tai frowned and could not help but feel a little speechless. A person came to your clinic to get medicine for more than a year, and you don't even know the name of the other party. Xiao Bao scratched his head embarrassedly and said, "Master often told us that as a doctor, we only need to care about curing illnesses and saving people, the consultation fee. As for other things, we shouldn't ask too much." Hearing this, Li Tai was a little mad, but when he thought of Gong Sun Liang's strange temper in the morning, it seemed that it was not strange for him to say such words. After pondering for a moment, Li Tai calmed down and continued to ask, "The prescription that Mr. Gong's son gave to that person, I wonder if you can lend it to this prince to take a look?" The little medicine boy seemed to be prepared. He took out a folded rice paper from his sleeve and stepped forward. "Before coming to the yamen, my master wrote another copy of the prescription. Your Highness, please take a look." Dugu Feiying stepped forward and took the prescription from the little medicine boy, then went forward and handed it to Li Tai. Li Tai took the prescription and looked at it carefully. He saw the words on the prescription: top quality Gladitsia, 12 chien, Ophiophagon, 10 chien, Shengdi, 18 chien, 15 chien, Baiji, 20 chien, tortoise shell, 12 chien, caterpillar fungus, 10 chien. Li Tai naturally did not have any medical knowledge. The purpose of him looking at the prescription was not to find any problems with it. After a while, Li Tai put away the prescription and looked up at the medicine boy. "This medicine is not cheap, right?" This was because he saw several precious medicinal herbs in this prescription. After staying in Yanhuang College for more than a year, Li Tai was no longer the prince who did not eat the food of mortals. At the very least, he knew the hardships of the people. The little medicine boy nodded and said, "Your Highness guessed right. This medicine costs 700 chien. The patient takes one in the morning and one in the evening. Every time that person went to get the medicine, he would get 10 days' worth of medicine because some herbs will lose their efficacy after being stored for a long time. Master suggested that he only get 10 days' worth of medicine each time at most. However, although that person did not dress like a rich person, he did not hesitate at all when he paid. Moreover, he has never defaulted on the payment of medicine to our Huichun Hall. One medicine costs 700 chien, once in the morning and once in the evening. In other words, that auntie's medicine cost nearly 2 strings of money a day." Hearing this, Li Tai's eyes flashed and he seemed to be thinking about something. For a prince like him, this amount of money was insignificant. However, Li Tai understood that for a commoner, the cost of 2 strings of money a day was a huge burden. A normal family would not be able to afford it. Not only did that assassin bear it, but he also persisted for more than a year. This was enough to show that he definitely had a powerful backing behind him. "Alright. This prince knows everything. In the future, please help me find out more about this person's background. It would be even better if you know where this person lives. After coming back to his senses, Li Tai looked at Xiao Bao and said in a deep voice, "Yes, Your Highness's words. Xiao Bao will definitely pass it on to Master when I return." It's just that." The medicine boy cupped his hands and then scratched his head embarrassedly. He wanted to say something but stopped. "Just what?" Seeing this, Li Tai asked subconsciously. The medicine boy hesitated for a moment. In the end, as if he had made up his mind, he stammered, "Just that, Xiao Bao saw on the notice that anyone who provides useful clues will be rewarded with 100 strings of money. I don't know if the clue I provided is considered a useful clue." It turned out that the medicine boy's main purpose was to provide clues. His main purpose was to ask for the reward. Hearing this, everyone did not know whether to laugh or cry. As the provincial governor of Bing Province, Wang Liaoyuan posted the notice in the name of the provincial governor's residence. At this moment, he stood up and said to the medicine boy, "Ha ha! The clue you provided is naturally useful. In a while, I will get someone to bring you to receive your reward." The medicine boy was overjoyed and quickly bowed to Wang Liaoyuan. "Thank you, provincial governor." This enthusiasm was completely different from when he answered Li Tai's question. It was as if he was a completely different person. It was as if he had money, he was the boss. Seeing this, Li Tai could not help but say, "No wonder Mr. Gongsun didn't come. It turns out that you want to earn some pocket money from the provincial governor's residence." This was originally a joke. In Li Tai's opinion, such an important matter should have been handled by Gongsun Liang himself. But now, only the little alchemy boy had come. It was very likely that the little alchemy boy had seen the reward notice and wanted to earn some pocket money, so he had secretly come behind Gongsun Liang's back. Unexpectedly, this sentence seemed to annoy Wang Liaoyuan. "Xiao Bao is here to report to all of you on the orders of my master. Today, my master and I have seen the person posted on the notice." In Taiyuan City, the medicine boy from Huichun Hall cupped his hands to Wang Liaoyuan after greeting everyone in the room. Speaking of this little medicine boy, they had just seen him in the morning. He was the youth that Gongsun Liang had brought with him when he came to the post house to detoxify Dugu Exin. His name was Xiao Bao, and he and Gongsun Liang should have a master-disciple relationship. "What? You've seen the person in the portrait?" After Lil Bao finished speaking, the room was silent for a moment. Then, Li Tai exclaimed in surprise. Li Tai had wanted to personally interrogate the assassin he had captured in the afternoon after returning from Dragon Mountain, but on the way back, he had run into Han Tianhu, who had rushed over from Yifang County. Later on, he had seen the letter Zhao Dian had sent to the Turks via pigeon. For the sake of the overall situation, Li Tai was forced to temporarily put aside the idea of personally interrogating the assassin. Instead, he had come to the provincial governor's residence to deliver Li Er's decree to Wang Liaoyuan and Fang Gongting. However, putting it aside temporarily did not mean that he would completely let it go. Regarding that assassin, Li Tai always felt a faint sense of uneasiness in his heart. This was because he speculated that the assassin might have come from another faction in Sorespeak City. Moreover, that faction might have colluded with Zhao Dian. Li Tai had not expected to find clues related to that assassin in the provincial governor's residence, so he was naturally overjoyed. Xiao Bao also knew Li Tai's identity. Hearing Li Tai's question, he turned to Li Tai and cupped his hands. "Replying to your highness, the person in the portrait, my master once treated his mother's illness. Since the beginning of last year, he would come to our rejuvenation hall every once in a while to get medicine. Although sometimes he did not go in person, it was still possible to tell from the prescription that he had asked someone else to get the medicine for him." Li Tai was delighted to hear this. He hurriedly asked, "Your master treated this person's mother, so he should know this person's name and residence, right? Also, What illness does this person's mother suffer from? Why hasn't she been cured after taking medicine for more than a year? As long as this person's identity was confirmed, the faction behind this person would be even easier to investigate, Li Tai thought to himself. However, to his disappointment, Xiao Bao shook his head and said, "This person doesn't like to talk. I remember that when this person carried his mother to the clinic, he only said 3 sentences to my master from beginning to end. Can you cure her? How much is the consultation fee? And, thank you. My master said that the aunt was suffering from tuberculosis, which could not be cured. My master could only prescribe some medicine to nourish the lungs, clear away heat and consolidate qi to relieve the pain and temporarily prolong her life. Later on, I heard that before that person came to our rejuvenation hall, he had already gone to several medical halls in the city, but no one dared to treat his mother. Later on, I thought that the prescription my master had prescribed was indeed useful to that aunt, so that person would come to our medical hall every once in a while or invite someone else to get the medicine. However, every time he came, he would leave in a hurry after getting the medicine and paying. No one knew his name or where he lived." Li Tai frowned and couldn't help but feel a little speechless. A person came to your medical hall to get medicine for more than a year, and you don't even know his name? Xiao Bao scratched his head and said, "Master often told us that as a doctor, we only need to care about curing illnesses and saving people, the consultation fee. As for other things, we shouldn't ask too much." Hearing this, Li Tai was a little mad, but thinking of Gong's son Liang's strange temper when he saw him in the morning, it seemed that it was not strange for him to say such words. After a moment of silence, Li Tai calmed down and continued to ask, "Mr. Gong's son Liang's prescription for that person, I wonder if you can lend it to this prince to take a look?" The little medicine boy seemed to have been prepared. He took out a folded paper from his sleeve and stepped forward. "Before coming to the yamen, my master wrote another copy of the prescription. Your Highness, please take a look." Dugu Feiying stepped forward and took the prescription from the little medicine boy, then went forward and handed it to Li Tai. Li Tai took the prescription and looked at it carefully. He saw the words on the prescription: top quality Gladitsia sinensis 12 chien, Ophiopagon japonicus 12 chien, asparagus 10 chien, Xingdi 18 chien, Baiji 15 chien, tortoise shell 20 chien, donkey hide gelatin 12 chien, caterpillar fungus 12 chien, Huang Lien 10 chien. Li Tai naturally didn't know anything about medicine. The purpose of him looking at the prescription was not to find the problem with it. After a while, Li Tai put away the prescription and looked up at the medicine boy. "This medicine is not cheap, right?" This was because he saw several precious medicinal herbs in this prescription. After staying in Yanhuang College for more than a year, Li Tai was no longer the unworldly prince. At the very least, he knew the hardships of the people. The little medicine boy nodded and said, "Your Highness guessed correctly. This medicine costs 700 chien. The patient takes one in the morning and one in the evening. Every time that person went to get the medicine, he would get 10 days' worth of medicine. Because some herbs will lose their efficacy after being stored for a long time, my master advised him to only get 10 days' worth of medicine each time. However, although that person didn't dress like a rich person, he didn't hesitate at all when he paid. Moreover, he has never defaulted on the payment of medicine for our Huichun Hall. One medicine costs 700 chien, once in the morning and once in the evening. In other words, that auntie's medicine cost nearly 2 strings of money a day." Hearing this, Li Tai's eyes flashed and he seemed to be deep in thought. For a prince like him, this amount of money was insignificant. However, Li Tai understood that for a commoner, the cost of 2 strings of money a day was a huge burden. A normal family would not be able to afford it. Not only did that assassin bear it, but he also persisted for more than a year. It was enough to show that he must have a powerful backer. "Alright. This prince knows everything. In the future, please help me find out more about this person's background. It would be even better if you know where this person lives. After coming back to his senses, Li Tai looked at Xiaobao and said in a deep voice, "Yes, Your Highness's words, Xiaobao will definitely pass it on to my master." But... The little medicine boy cupped his hands and then scratched his head in embarrassment. He wanted to say something but stopped. But what? Seeing this, Li Tai asked subconsciously. The little medicine boy hesitated for a moment. In the end, he seemed to have made up his mind and said, "But Xiaobao saw on the notice that anyone who provides useful clues will be rewarded with 100 strings of money. I don't know if the clue I provided is considered a useful clue." It turned out that the little medicine boy's main purpose was to provide clues. His main purpose was to ask for the reward. Hearing this, everyone didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As the Bing Province provincial governor, Wang Liaoyuan posted the notice in the name of the provincial governor's office. At this moment, he stood up and said to the little medicine boy, "Ha ha! The clue you provided is naturally useful. In a while, I will get someone to bring you to receive your reward." The little medicine boy was overjoyed and quickly bowed to Wang Liaoyuan. "Thank you, provincial governor." This enthusiasm was completely different from when he answered Li Tai's question. It was as if he was a completely different person. It was as if he had money, he was the boss. Seeing this, Li Tai couldn't help but say, "No wonder Mr. Gongsun didn't come. It turns out that you want to earn some pocket money from the provincial governor's office." This was originally a joke. In Li Tai's opinion, such an important matter should be handled by Gongsun Liang himself. Now that only the little medicine boy came, it was very likely that the little medicine boy saw the reward notice and wanted to earn some pocket money. So, he secretly came alone behind Gongsun Liang's back. Who knew that this sentence seemed to annoy Wang Liaoyuan? Chapter 1895 Reward. Chapter 1916 Zhao Dian. Tuberculosis prescription. A moment later, in the back hall of the provincial governor's mansion, a handsome young man with resolute facial features stood in front of Wang Liaoyuan and Fang Gongting. Holding his chin, he asked thoughtfully, "I wonder if Provincial Governor Wang and Adjunct Fang have heard of Zhao Dian before?" Generally, this official has never heard of this person. Wang Liaoyuan thought for a few moments before shaking his head. This general has also never heard of him. Fang Gongting frowned and shook his head. This young man was none other than Li Junxian. When Li Tai's group had left the courier station for the Yamen, Li Junxian had been following them from a distance. Not even the Peak Chi transformation Dugu Feiying had noticed him, much less anyone else. Ever since they had entered Taiyuan City, Li Junxian had been secretly protecting Li Tai. He had not appeared to meet Li Tai primarily because he was afraid that the factions hidden in the city would notice. After all, someone had eavesdropped on Li Tai and Ink Chue's conversation at the courier station at noon. Li Junxian had no choice but to be even more cautious. After Li Tai's group left the governor's residence, Li Junxian did not leave with them. His primary goal was to understand what information Li Tai had gathered from Wang Liaoyuan. "In a little while, I will send a message to Chang An and have the 100 cavalry in the capital review the files and find out Zhao Dian's identity as quickly as possible," Li Junxian said after a few moments of thought. The 100 Cavalry Division was the Great Tang's most mysterious and elite spy organization. Although it had not been established for very long, it was filled with experts skilled in gathering intelligence. The files of the 100 Cavalry Division not only recorded the people and events within the Great Tang, it also had information on the surrounding countries, especially the Turks. "Then I must trouble General Li." Wang Liaoyuan clasped his hands at Li Junxian. After all, Li Er had given him a deadline of 3 days to find out Zhao Dian's identity. Li Junxian was helping him. "Governor Wang is too polite. Li Junxian indifferently replied. He then turned to Fang Gongting and said, Advisor Fang, since we already know that the assassin the Imperial Army captured this afternoon has a severely ill mother, the scope of our investigation has been greatly reduced. Today, the soldiers of the Bing Province barracks are searching the entire city. After Adjunct Fang returns to the barracks, you can ask the soldiers who participated in the search today to recall whether or not they encountered any elders with tuberculosis in their homes. I believe there will definitely be some results. Hearing this, Fang Gongting's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, General Li is right. After this general returns to the camp, I will immediately gather all the generals to inquire. Fang Gongting was temporarily acting as the commandant of the Bing Province Army. Although in terms of rank Li Junxian was on the same level as him, and there was no direct relationship between them, Li Junxian was still the commander of the 100 Cavalry Division and an official of the capital. Even Wang Liaoyuan treated him with respect, so how could he dare to act rashly? Moreover, Li Junxian's suggestion truly was feasible. If he could find out the assassin's identity through this method, he would have done a great service, so how could he not agree? Li Junxian nodded and said, Tuberculosis is not a common disease, and ordinary people can't last very long with it. Thus, once we find out if there are any families in the city that suffer from this disease, I must trouble Advisor Fang to immediately send men to investigate to prevent any undue delay. Undue delay? General Li is worried. Fang Gongting's heart trembled as he sternly asked. Li Junxian nodded and said, Correct? The power behind this assassin is extraordinary. It is possible that the other party will send someone to kill him or hide him. Li Junxian did not directly voice his suspicions about the Wang clan. Firstly, he had no evidence, and secondly, this matter involved the Wang clan, so he did not completely trust Fang Gongting and Wang Liaoyuan. Fang Gongting solemnly clasped his fist and said, This Fang understands. This one will return to the barracks and gather the officers to investigate. If there are any suspicious targets, this Fang will personally bring men to investigate. This one will take his leave first. Advisor Fang, take care. Wang Liaoyuan and Li Junxian clasped their fists to Fang Gongting in return, and Fang Gongting left. Only Wang Liaoyuan and Fang Gongting were left in the room. Since Governor Wang is busy, this general will not disturb you any longer. If Governor Wang wishes to find me in the future, you can send men to the second residence on the east side of Tongfu Inn. Through their conversation just now, Li Junxian knew that Li Er had given Wang Liaoyuan another imperial decree. Wang Liaoyuan would be very busy in the coming days, so he clasped his fist and bid farewell. But before leaving, he told Wang Liaoyuan where the 100 cavalry were staying in the city. After all, he was only protecting Li Tai from the shadows, so he did not know the latest reports that Li Tai had received. Moreover, he could not have too much contact with Li Tai, so he could only keep in contact with Wang Liaoyuan and exchange intelligence at any time. Okay. This official will remember. Wang Liaoyuan silently noted down the order and clasped his fist. Li Junxian left the room, jumped onto the eaves, and then vanished into the darkness. On the steppe, in Tuli's camp was completely different from how it had been during the day. The camp was a complete mess, and some of the tents had been destroyed or even set alight. Moreover, the ground was littered with severed limbs. This was a living hell. It was clear that this place had just been through a bitter battle. Tuli's old face was as dark as ink as he listened to Anai Shirdua's report on the casualties in the Tooth Courtyard. Tang Jian was also present in the Tooth Courtyard. However, Tang Jian's face was devoid of any expression. He was still as confident as before. Bam! After hearing Anai Shirdua's report, Tuli finally couldn't hold back any longer. He slapped the table in front of him and angrily roared, "They're going too far! These tribes have suddenly increased their offensive. Someone must have ordered them to do so. Are you trying to kill this Khan? Tugu Sheli Khan. Sheli Khan's full name was Ashina Tugu. Speaking to this point, Tuli looked at Tang Jian, who was sitting calmly below. A trace of anger flashed through his eyes. Soon after, he coldly said, Duke Ju, we just released the news of the 7th month's frost this morning. In the evening, we suffered a fierce attack from various tribes. What do you think? Tang Jian's face turned serious, and he stood up and clasped his hands to Tuli. Is Khan blaming this Tang for dividing the tribes? Humph. Tuli snorted. He didn't admit it, but he didn't deny it either. Indeed, in the evening, the various tribes around Tuli's camp had suddenly launched an extremely fierce offensive against Tuli's camp. This truly did seem to be related to the news that Tuli had sent in the morning to spread on the steppe that Sheli has lost his virtue, incurring the wrath of longevity heaven, and frost will fall in the 7th month. But, does Khan think that the great Khan will let you go if you don't follow this Tang's instructions and spread the news on the steppe? Seeing Tuli's cold face and silence, Tang Jian wasn't afraid at all. He directly retorted, Forgive this Tang for speaking bluntly, but a mountain can't accommodate 2 tigers, and a country can't accommodate 2 rulers. The conflict between the little Khan and the great Khan has long been irreconcilable. Now that the little Khan is even besieged by the great Khan, shouldn't you give up the fantasy in your heart and face reality? How dare you? After being angrily rebuked by Tang Jian, Tuli's old face was so gloomy that it could drip water. Before he could speak, an Aishurtua, who was standing beside him, couldn't hold back anymore. He took 2 big strides and came in front of Tang Jian. He said aggressively, How dare you speak to the Khan like that? Believe it or not, I'll chop you up. Tang Jian met an Aishurtua's gaze. There was no fear in his eyes, but he didn't say anything to provoke him. It wasn't the first time he dealt with the Turks. He knew very well that when facing these people, the more timid you were, the more arrogant they would be and the more they would look down on you from the bottom of their hearts. Now that he was the Tang Empire's envoy and represented the Tang Empire's imperial court, he had even less reason to bow and scrape to Tuli and Aishurtua and the others. When he encountered people he couldn't stand or didn't like, he wouldn't be afraid. He would just confront them head-on. He really didn't believe that Tuli and Aishurtua would dare to do anything to him. At the very least, that would be the case until Sheli's troops trampled on Tuli's house. General Aishurtua, don't be rude to the Tang Empire's envoy. The 2 men stared at each other for a moment. At this time, Tuli, who was sitting at the head of the table, finally opened his mouth. Humph! Aishurtua snorted coldly, but in the end, he still obeyed Tuli's order. He glared at Tang Jian unwillingly and stood aside. At this time, Tang Jian looked at Tuli, cupped his hands and said, What this Tang said just now may be offensive, but it's an indisputable fact. If the little Khan wants to break out of the encirclement, his only chance is to wait for the prophecy to come true and frost to fall from the sky. At that time, rumors will spread everywhere in the grassland tribes, and everyone will be in a panic. The great Khan will be too busy to take care of himself, so he won't have the energy to encircle and annihilate the little Khan. This evening, the allied tribal forces around Yating suddenly intensified their attacks. This shows that the great Khan is already anxious. He's more afraid than anyone that the prophecy will come true. Tuli's eyes slightly narrowed. After a moment of silence, he said expressionlessly, Envoy Tang's words are reasonable, but this Khan has lost more than 40,000 men in this evening's battle. According to this kind of offensive, does Envoy Tang think this Khan will first wait for frost to fall from the sky or be completely wiped out? In fact, this was the problem that Tuli was most worried about. Upon hearing this, Tang Jian pondered for a moment. Then, he cupped his hands and said, It's only 2 days until the 8th lunar month. Life and death will depend on these 2 days. This Tang believes that as long as the generals and soldiers under the great Khan's tent unite and fight to the death, we will certainly be able to wait until the prophecy comes true. Moreover, although the Allied forces' attacks this evening were strong and our army also suffered more than 40,000 casualties, among these 40,000 soldiers, 50% were lightly injured, 30% were seriously injured, and only 20% were dead. This shows that although the tribal leaders under the Great Khan's tent have intensified their attacks on us according to the Great Khan's order, they haven't used their full strength. They even deliberately showed mercy to us, because even a rabbit will bite when cornered, let alone a tiger. If we are forced into a desperate situation, the warriors under the Great Khan's tent will certainly fight back with all their might. As for those tribal leaders who are attacking us, none of them will be willing to bear our desperate counterattack. Under this kind of situation, they are more afraid of death than us. Therefore, this Tang believes that we will certainly be able to hold on until frost falls from the sky. Chapter 1917. If a lie was repeated many times, it was very likely that one would believe it. This was the case for Tang Jian right now. At that time, when he was in danger, he had to brace himself and bring a few guards to the prairie in disguise at such a sensitive time. At that time, even he himself did not believe in the prophecy of frost in July. But after telling Tuli so many times, he seemed to have such a belief in his heart that at the end of July, frost would definitely fall on the prairie. To him, this was no longer a prophecy or a lie, but a fact. Just like the sun will definitely rise from the east tomorrow, it was an ironclad fact. Oh? Do you mean that the Chigue and Hueha tribes did not use their full strength in the evening? And they deliberately showed mercy to us? Inside the tent, after hearing Tang Jian's words, Tuli's eyes flashed and he asked in a deep voice. In fact, before he was invited to the tent, Tang Jian had already made an extremely detailed analysis of the battle in the evening. At this time, he could be said to have a card up his sleeve, because he saw more things behind the casualty figures. Hearing Tuli's question, Tang Jian cupped his hands and said, "This time, the Great Khan has mobilized 300,000 elite soldiers from the Chigue and Hueha tribes to encircle us. Not to mention the other tribes, just the Chigue and Hueha tribes alone, how elite are their troops? This Tang doesn't need to say. Little Khan must be clear in his heart. If these two armies had attacked with all their might and showed no mercy, does the Little Khan think that you would have only lost 40,000 soldiers in today's battle? Moreover, among these 40,000 casualties, would only 20% have died in the battle? After listening to Tang Jian's analysis, Tuli and Ni Sherdua also came back to their senses. They looked at each other, and Ni Sherdua nodded imperceptibly at Tuli, indicating that Tang Jian's analysis was indeed reasonable. Seeing this, Tang Jian continued, "In this Tang's opinion, the Great Khan must have heard the rumors circulating among the tribes and exerted pressure on the leaders of the 10 tribes for the Great Khan to see. The battle in this evening was a show for the Great Khan, which is why this battle is several times more intense and tragic than the previous ones. However, these 10 tribes may not be of the same mind as the Great Khan. The leaders of each tribe have to consider the interests of their own tribes. No one is willing to push the warriors under the Little Khan's banner into a corner, leading to our desperate counterattack and the heavy losses of the enemy's warriors. If the Chigue and Hueha tribes are like this, then the other tribes must be like this as well. They are actually the same as us, waiting for the prophecy of frost to come true." Tuli sat on the seat of honor with a contemplative look on his face. After Tang Jian finished speaking, he said, "Envoy Tang's words aren't without reason. In that case, General Nij, in the next 2 days, we will work together and gather all the warriors of the tribes to resist the aggressive attack." Tang Jian's analysis was reasonable and well-founded in Tuli's ears. In addition, he did receive news at noon that Xieli had summoned the leaders of the 10 tribes to the royal court for a discussion. This was simply the same as Tang Jian's conjecture. With the two as evidence, Tang Jian's analysis was even more credible. Yes, this subordinate obeys. With a solemn expression, Nij Tua placed one hand on his chest and bowed to Tuli. The fierce battle in the evening must have frightened Envoy Tang. General Nij, send someone to bring Envoy Tang to rest. Envoy Tang is this Khan's honored guest. Remember to let the people below treat him well. At this time, Tuli looked at Tang Jian and spoke again. Yes. Nij Tua knew that Tuli was asking him to leave. He responded and came to Tang Jian's side. Extending his hand, he made a please gesture and said, Duke Ju, this way please. Tang Jian secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Then, he said lightly, there's no need to trouble General Nij. This Tang knows the way back to the tent. Farewell. After saying that, Tang Jian lifted his feet and walked out of the tent. Chapter 1918. General Feiying, where is the assassin you caught in the afternoon? While Fang Gongting was preparing to lead the troops out of the camp, Li Tai and the rest had already returned to the post-house. As soon as they stepped through the door, Li Tai turned to Dugu Feiying and asked. When he returned from Dragon Mountain in the afternoon, he wanted to interrogate Star Wolf and get some clues from him. However, because he met Han Lijing halfway, his plan was disrupted. However, the information he got from the provincial governor's office made him more confident in interrogating Star Wolf. Your Highness, the assassin is in the torture chamber. Dugu Feiying was stunned for a moment before replying. Good. Bring me there. I want to interrogate him tonight. Li Tai ordered. There was a hint of excitement in his voice. After all, he was a prince. Even though he had joined the Yanhuang Academy last year, he rarely had the opportunity to come into contact with matters related to the investigation of cases. Previously, he had exposed the scam of the Venerable Du Yi of the Heavenly Dragon sect and the Ice Needle murder case, which was one of the proudest experiences of Li Tai. Although Taiyuan City was now in crisis, wasn't it similar to the crisis of the Heavenly Dragon sect in Chang'an City? This caused Li Tai, the prince, to feel a little excited, and even a little impatient. If Li Zixuan knew what Li Tai was thinking, he would definitely say, rich people like to seek excitement. Your Highness, you mustn't. Your body is priceless. How can you go to that kind of place? Moreover, the assassin's martial arts is very strong. What if? Dugu Feiying was shocked and wanted to stop him, but Li Tai interrupted him. General Feiying, you don't have to say any more. Since the assassin has been caught by you, how can he harm me in our territory? Now that we are in a passive position in the city, we must find a breakthrough from this assassin. Quickly bring me to the torture chamber. Yes, Your Highness. Dugu Feiying hesitated for a moment. With him by his side and the assassin's hands and feet tied, Li Tai's safety was not too much to worry about. Thus, he nodded in agreement. Qingke, I'll go with you, Iron Egg said. All right. Old Master Han, come along too. In the end, Dugu Feiying, Li Tai, Iron Egg and Han Lijing walked towards the temporary cell in the post house. With a creak, the cell door opened. Star Wolf was still hanging his head on the rack, as if he didn't care who or what had entered. Dugu Feiying asked one of the guards in the room, He still hasn't said anything? The guard replied, Yes, General. This bastard still refuses to say a word, and he hasn't drunk a single drop of water since he was caught. Dugu Feiying frowned. Who told you to do this? This guy has an important clue. If he starves to death, we will have one less clue. Which one of you can bear the responsibility? Dugu Feiying subconsciously thought that the guards were abusing the prisoner and wanted to starve him to death. Who knew that the guard had a bitter expression and said, General, it's not that we don't want to feed him water, but this guy is too stubborn. He won't open his mouth when we feed him. Even if we force it open, he won't swallow it. In the end, he even spat it out. Dugu Feiying was stunned, but he quickly reacted. He looked at Star Wolf and said coldly, "It seems like this guy is bent on death and wants to starve himself to death." At this point, he couldn't help but sigh. This guy was indeed a ruthless person. Oh, it should be a werewolf, but he was more than a ruthless person. He didn't make a sound when he was being tortured, and he didn't open his mouth even though he was being fed water. Only a specially trained assassin could be so ruthless to himself. "Alright, I got it. You guys go out and stand guard. Without my orders, no one is to approach the cell." After lamenting for a while, Dugu Feiying ordered the 2 guards in the room. Chapter 1919. Wang Family Ancestral Home. In the pitch-black night, a black figure scurried out from the second branch's courtyard and headed straight for the back door of the Wang family ancestral home. At this moment, the Wang family's back door was naturally locked, but this wasn't a problem for that black figure. The tip of his foot lightly tapped on the ground, and his entire person easily leapt up the wall, and with a leap, he completely exited the courtyard. The black figure was extremely cautious, and from the start till the end, he didn't make a single sound. It could be said that he was completely unknown to the gods and ghosts. But there was one person who had been tailing him from a distance, and this scene naturally fell into the other party's eyes. Family Head's prediction is right. The second branch has indeed made a move. It's finished like this, but Wang Li sneakily left the residence alone. He must be doing some shameful things. The person following behind the black figure was the Wang family Dark Guards commander Wang Qingwu. At this moment, he looked at the direction that the black figure disappeared in and muttered to himself. With light steps, he also leapt over the courtyard wall and followed after. After leaving the Wang family, the 2 of them, one in front and one behind, first walked along the streets towards the east for a while. At the junction, the black figure turned around and walked towards the south. Wang Qingwu didn't dare to follow too closely. The distance between him and the black-robed man had always been maintained at around 10 feet. Because the other party's martial cultivation wasn't much weaker than his, if he followed too closely, he would definitely be detected by the other party. At this moment, seeing that the black figure in front was about to make a turn, one must know that both sides of the street were commoners. Once the black figure made a turn, it would temporarily leave his vision. In order to avoid losing sight of the target, Wang Qingwu hurriedly quickened his footsteps and walked swiftly towards the junction. After reaching the junction, Wang Qingwu didn't immediately turn around. He lightly leaned against the wall by the side of the road and then slightly tilted his head to look towards the south street. He saw that the black figure was about 50 to 60 feet away from him and was still moving forward swiftly just like before. The target hadn't been lost. Wang Qingwu heaved a sigh of relief. After the other party had walked another 20 to 30 feet, Wang Qingwu then turned around and stuck close to the wall, following the black-robed man's position unhurriedly. Things seemed to be going very smoothly, but at this moment, the black shadow in front of Wang Qingwu suddenly stopped. Wang Qingwu's heart was alarmed, and he cursed inwardly. He used his eyes to quickly scan his current position, and it just so happened that he was near the steps in front of a mansion. In a flash, Wang Qingwu dodged and squatted on the side of the step. In the darkness of the night, he was sure that even if the black shadow turned around, he would not be able to see him. Sure enough, just as Wang Qingwu squatted down, the black figure in front of him suddenly turned around. His pair of eyes seemed to be able to pierce through the thick darkness of the night. Everything on the entire street was taken into his eyes. Strange, why do I feel like someone is following me? Seeing that there was nothing unusual on the street, the black-clothed man frowned and a trace of worry flashed across his face. After standing still for a while, the black shadow turned around and continued to walk south. Wang Qingwu squatted on the side of the stone step. When the black-clothed man stopped and scanned behind him, Wang Qingwu didn't dare to poke his head out to take a look. From the beginning to the end, he squatted there and didn't move at all. When he heard the light footsteps on the street again, and the footsteps were gradually fading away, Wang Chungu finally stood up slightly and poked his head out of the stone step. But he saw that the black shadow had turned around and was walking towards the south. Wang Chungu quickly stood up and followed again. Chapter 1920. Quick! Move faster! In the dark night, a group of Imperial Army soldiers holding torches and riding horses rushed out of the post house. The leader was Dugu Feiying. Other than the Imperial Army soldiers, there was also Han Lijing behind him. Li Tai, Iron Egg, and the others were not in the group. In fact, Li Tai wanted to go with them to Baoxing Square. However, Dugu Feiying suggested that Li Tai stay in the post house on the grounds that it was unsafe at night. Han Lijing, Iron Egg, and the others also persuaded him. In the end, Li Tai had no choice but to give up the idea and stay in the post house with Iron Egg. The truth was just as Dugu Feiying said. In this era, there were no neon lights or street lamp. Once night fell and there was no moon, the streets would be pitch black. Under such circumstances, it would be difficult to guard against an ambush or a sneak attack. Zhang Defu, lead the way to Baoxing Square. After leaving the post house, Dugu Xian shouted loudly. After all, he was not a local of Taiyuan. In addition, it was night time. If no one led the way, it would be difficult to find Baoxing Square. Yes. A soldier answered and walked out of the crowd to Dugu Feiying's side. He was only half a horse's length ahead of Dugu Feiying. The group of people rushed toward the south of the city. However, because it was night time and the light was not good, they did not dare to move as fast as they did during the day. Otherwise, if they bumped into any obstacles, they would be thrown off their horses and easily cause a stampede. The commotion on the street inevitably alerted the people in the houses on both sides of the street. However, according to the curfew system in this era of big cities, the houses were all closed at this time. Even if the people heard the commotion, they couldn't go out to check. Only some of the people who lived at the edge of the houses could see a long fire dragon on the street through the windows on the second floor of their houses, rushing towards the south. At the same time, under Fang Gongting's lead, the soldiers of the Bing province barracks were also rushing to the south of the city. This group had more people than the Imperial Army, around 400 people. The fire dragon, formed by 400 torches, was even more spectacular than Dugu Feiying's group. However, the Bing province barracks was located in the northwest of Taiyuan City, and the courier station was located in the center of Taiyuan City. Therefore, in terms of distance, the Bing province barracks was further away from the southern Baoxing Square. In order to reach the southern part of the city as quickly as possible, Fang Gongting specially sent 2 men to clear the path in front of the group. This way, even if there were obstacles on the road, only the 2 men would be knocked over, and it would not affect the speed of the entire group. Speaking of which, if there was a moon tonight, they could take advantage of the moonlight to gallop at full speed without having to worry about bumping into obstacles in the dark. However, there was no moon tonight, and Fang Gongting could only use this stupid method to increase the speed of their group as much as possible. However, the speed of their group was much faster than Dugu Feiying's group. After all, most of the soldiers of the Bing province barracks had lived in Taiyuan City for many years. Their familiarity with the roads in the city was far inferior to that of the Imperial Army. When it came to traveling at night, they naturally had the advantage. Since Uncle Wang has never heard of this Zhao Dian, this junior will take his leave first. In the courtyard of the Wang family's ancestral home, Dugu Xian stood up and cupped his fists toward Wang Yu. In the evening, when Li Tai and his group went to the provincial governor's manor, Dugu Xian brought a few people to the Wang family. His main purpose was to obtain information on Zhao Dian from Wang Yu. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.